Good. B'Shem HaShem na'aseh v'natzliach, shiur Torah, Baruch HaShem. We have another week. It's an interesting last few days. Everybody's wasting their life following this election. Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? They also worried about Maaseh Adam, the hands of man, and they forget about who controls man. And that's the one thing that we try to remind ourselves with these MUSSAR shiurs. You know, we have all of these mitzvot. You know, we have to do all of these things, and it's really nice that we have these mitzvot, we have order, and so on. But this book, you know, Baruch HaShem, we're doing this Pirkei Avot shiur, and so we try to use a bunch of different sources. And this tiny book, Pirkei Avot from Art Scroll, I got this too. I said maybe it has some other things I didn't see, and that's not in this book. It actually has something in the beginning that I thought was brilliant. And it talks about, you know, someone asks, Arav, if learning Mussar is so important, why is it not one of the 613 mitzvot? Why is it a mitzvah, 614? Learn Mussar. It's a good question, right? It's a good question. And it says here, now the Vilna Gaon also has an answer, which I'll tell you in a second, but this book says something. It says, in the truest sense, this non-halachic book, meaning the Pirkei Avot, which is not about halacha, is a prerequisite to halacha itself. Meaning, if you even want to have a chance at being one of these people that follows halacha for the right reason, does what's necessary, not because you became accustomed to it, like the guy that lives in the jungle got accustomed to walking around in underwear. Like the surfer got used to walking around in a bathing suit all the time. Like the criminal got used to killing and seeing dead bodies because that's what he does for a living. Got accustomed to it because got it to become a part of your life because of the right reason. You're worshiping HaShem, you're serving HaShem. In order for you to get to that point, you have to work on yourself. And the Vilna Gaon said, when his student asked him, why isn't it one of the mitzvot? He said, because the whole point of all of the mitzvot is to make you a human being. Meaning one doesn't go without the other. Mussar doesn't go without mitzvot. Mitzvot don't go without Mussar. You need one for the other. So this is why it's very, very important for everyone to learn Mussar. To learn how to behave, how to treat one another, how to develop a real relationship between a husband and a wife, how to develop a relationship between a father and a child, a mother and a child, how to develop a relationship between friends, business partners, and even between you and God. You have to know how to treat the Torah. You have to know how to treat Talmidim Chachamim. You have to know how to treat your rabbi. You have to know if to even choose a rabbi that's local or to choose a rabbi that's long distance. You have to know all of these things, and all of it is part of Mussar. And someone that's just purely learning halachot all day without learning Mussar is missing the point. So just for that, this book was worth it. Just for that little chidush was worth it for that one line. But this book is actually very good. It's only $10. But anybody who doesn't have any money, there's actually a website that gives them out for free.
You have the PDF of it online?
I don't know if they have a PDF of it online, but I know there's one website that gives away, I think, one book a month or something like that for free. And you can get it. I forgot the website, but I'll give it to you after the show. I'll look it up. And this is actually one of the books they give out for free. But I bought this Baruch HaShem from Art Scroll. It's like $10 or $9, something like that. It's a good book. Came out 30 years ago. They still sell it. So anyway, we see Baruch HaShem. This week we have Parashat Lech Lecha. Avraham Avinu is told we're introduced to him at the beginning of this week's parasha. It says, "Vayomer Adonai el Avraham, lech lecha me'artzecha u'moladecha u'mibet avicha el haaretz asher arecha." Hashem says to Abraham, go for yourself from your land, from your relatives, from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. So here we see that HaShem has a whole world full of people, millions and millions of people, if not more. But He chooses this one man after the whole destruction of the Mabul, the flood that we had, and then 350 years later, approximately, the Tower of Babel, where Hashem destroyed the Tower of Babel. And as more generations passed, 10 generations from Adam HaRishon, you fast forward 10 generations, you get to Avraham Avinu. Hashem chooses this one man, Avraham, and He tells him, okay, leave everything behind. Leave your the place that you were born, your nation. Leave the place that you were born. Your nation. Leave the place that you were born. And leave the house of your father. If you notice, it's an order of difficulty. Mimoladetecha or me'artzecha, leave your country, is less difficult. Leaving your country, leaving America, let's say, it's going to be less difficult than leaving your place of birth. Because you can move to a different country. Make a move. Get a job. There's different reasons. But leaving your hometown, I grew up here, my high school is here, my friends are here, it's a little more difficult. So that's the second step. So he says, Me'artzecha, which is your country, and then the place that you were born in, which in essence is the same place he's talking about. And then third he says, Mi bet avicha, from your father's house, which is the most difficult, leaving the house of mommy and daddy. So here you see there's a order of difficulty. Now obviously if Hashem wanted to just say this to Avraham Avinu, and not to us today, then He would just say, Avraham, leave. Lech lecha, zeh, that's it. You understand, Avraham was a genius. He already discovered God at the age of 3. At the age of 3, he realized that God is real. He realized that God rules the world. Just when he came out of the cave, because what ended up happening, according to the Midrash, Nimrod, the wicked king at the time of Babylon, was called Nimrod because he caused everyone to go against Hashem.
Did he know that Hashem existed, Nimrod?
Okay. And he wanted everyone to go against it and worship idols, worship him. But the people that worked for him, that would read stars, the necromancers, would told him one day that someone was born today that's going to destroy you. A boy was born today, so he commanded all of the people that had boys born that day, bring him in. Now one of his workers, Terah, everyone knew that he just had a boy. So okay, bring the boy. Now Terah, obviously, it's his son. Avraham is his son. But Terah also had a maidservant that he also, that was like another wife of his. And she also had a boy that day. So he brought that boy.
What a coincidence.
Everything coincidence. So he brought that boy, and Nimrod the Rasha killed all the kids. And then he went and he hid Avraham inside the cave. For the next 3 years, Avraham was inside the cave. Eventually, after 3 years, Avraham came out of the cave and he saw there's a sun. He's like, oh. So he started worshiping the sun. He's like, that must be God. He realized that it has to be a God. There cannot be this world. He started looking around. He's like, well, look at the tree. Where did the tree come from? Where did this other tree come from? Where did this big mountain come from? Who controls all these big things? Who made all of this? Can't be all this came from nothing. It's not like the idiots today that think that everything came from some explosion by accident. At 3 years old, he was already smarter than the entire generation we have. So he's like, oh, everything has to come by a perfect designer. So he says maybe it's it's the sun. So he starts worshiping the sun. And then he sees the sun goes down and the moon comes up. So he starts doing teshuvah. I made a mistake. Obviously the moon is stronger than the sun because the sun went down. Is bowing to the moon. So he starts doing teshuvah, starts crying to the moon. I'm sorry, I worshipped the wrong one. You're the God, you're this one. He's doing teshuvah now. So the whole night he's crying to the moon, I'm sorry. But then the moon goes down. So obviously he realizes, okay, not this one, not this one. And he starts crying to Shamayim, asking, please, please tell me what's the truth. And then Baal Adira, the owner of the house, mitzitz, meaning peeks, and shows them, it's me. Hashem says, you're looking for me? I'm God. So already Avraham Avinu was a brilliant mind from birth, discovered who Hashem was already at a very young age, didn't need Torah proofs, didn't need any special DVDs or anything. Baruch Hashem, he discovered it just by asking, by seeking Hashem. But he's in a different generation, different times. We're very much lower than he was. But nonetheless, why am I mentioning all of this? Because if Hashem was just trying to talk to him here, he would just say, Avraham, lech. Avraham, go. So here we see that Hashem is saying not only a message to Avraham, he's saying a message to us today. He said, listen, to Avraham, who was a genius, who was a tzaddik, who was the forefather of Judaism, I'm giving him specific instructions. Leave your homeland. Leave the place you were born. Leave the house of your father. And I know it's getting more and more difficult. Each one is more and more difficult. The tests are going to keep getting more difficult. Why? Because if you want to get to where I want to take you, you have to withstand these tests. And they're only going to get harder. They're not going to get easier. The tests are not going to get easier. It's going to be harder to bigger tests. But remember, you want to get to where I want you to be? You want to get to the homeland? You want to get to the promised land? You want to get to the grand prize? You have to leave everything behind. If it doesn't fit in your luggage, if it doesn't fit in your heart, if it doesn't fit within your lifestyle, if it's not going to come with you and it's going to be a complement to your journey, you have to leave it behind, my friend. If your friends are not helping you do teshuvah, you have to leave them behind. If your girlfriend is not interested in doing teshuvah and getting married like a kosher couple, you have to leave that behind. If your boyfriend is still interested in going to bars and you want to do a real teshuvah, you have to leave that behind. You have to understand that this is not necessarily telling people, listen, break off our relationship, don't call your parents anymore, everyone's not worth it. I'm not saying that. But you have to understand that in order to get to where you need to be, in order to get to your destination, sacrifices are going to be necessary. Some of those sacrifices are not just going to be money or health or time. Some of those sacrifices are going to be relationships. And that's one of the more difficult things for people to understand and to deal with, because listen, my friend since, I was 10 years old, how could I leave him behind? I'm not saying you leave him behind. I'm saying that you have to go on your journey, and you cannot allow anyone to hold you back. You go do your thing, you do teshuvah. Once you're strong, you come back and help anybody you want. But you can't not do it because your friends are not coming. You can't not do teshuvah because your girlfriend's not willing to do it. You can't not do teshuvah because all your boys are still interested in baseball games. And you can't say, listen, you know what, maybe I could do like half. I could hang out with the guys and learn some Torah. I could violate half the Shabbat. There's no such thing. It's either 100% truth or 100% lie with some truth in it, which is still a lie. So here Hashem is telling us in this week's parasha, there's going to be certain sacrifices that we need to make in order for us to get to where we need to be. Now, In this week's Pirkei Avot, we have a continuation of the sages explaining to us some things that we can carry with us which coincide with this parasha. It says, Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreda v'Yossi ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim kiblu mehem. Yossi ben Yoezer, Yossi the son of Yoezer, leader of Tzreda, and Yossi ben Yochanan, leader of Jerusalem. So there's two people, received tradition from them. From who? From Antigonos, from Shimon HaTzadik, all the people we talked about last week. So here you see that unlike all other religions, all other cults, all other belief systems that people have, in Judaism, we must know where the source is. If you notice, I try to make an extra effort because it's not one of these big Talmidim Chachamim that knows everything by heart. So I try to make an effort to remind you guys, if anybody wants to double check here or online, where I got what I said, so they don't think it's from my own opinion, I make sure of the source. This is not to show off, oh, I know page number this one or that one. It has nothing to do with that. Why? Because as it says in Pirkei Avot, someone who provides the source of where he got his information from brings salvation to the world. This is chapter 6 of Pirkei Avot. So, in Judaism, it's very, very important to provide a source. Why? Because number one, we're not interested in your opinion. That's what Am Yisrael is telling you. We're not interested in your opinion. The only opinion we're interested in is God's opinion. And if it's not direct from God, meaning we didn't get it in the Chamisha Chumshei Torah, in the 5 books of Moses, in Mount Sinai, then we know we have to get it from the sages, which is also part of the Torah we got from Mount Sinai, but it's oral Torah. Either way, we need to have a direct lineage from what you're saying all the way back to Mount Sinai. Either written Torah or oral Torah. Your opinion is irrelevant. We have no interest in your opinion whatsoever. Anyone that states their opinion and makes it as if it's the Torah, it's 100% kfirah. It's not Torah. You have to tell people, if it's your opinion, it's okay. You're allowed to say your opinion. But tell you, it's my opinion. So, in Judaism, we have a rule here. We have to know that everything has a source. So here you see again, every week we see each Mishnah starts with where they got it from. First Mishnah was Moshe got it from Mount Sinai, gave it to Joshua. Joshua gave it to the elders. The elders gave it to the prophets. The prophets gave it to Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, the men of the Great Assembly. Then the week after that, we say that the last of the men of Great Assembly was Shimon HaTzadik. Then after that, last week we had Antigonos, which was one of the Shimon HaTzadik's students. And now we have Yossi ben Yoezer and Yossi ben Yochanan. It says they received it from them. From who? From the same people, from the Shimon HaTzadik, from Antigonos. Some say they got it direct, they were the students of Antigonos. Some of them say that they were students originally of Shimon HaTzadik and then Antigonos. Either way, we know the source. This is the same case with the entire Torah, where a lot of people have problems with beliefs. Usually you find out that some of them are true truth seekers, meaning that really looking for the truth, they just don't know. But sometimes it's just people that have an excuse. So usually at some point both of these types of people will say, listen, well, how do I know that the Torah is the same Torah they had in Mount Sinai? How do I know? And the reason why we know is because we have exactly the names, which I'm going to read off to you right now, just for the record, for people to know. We have exactly the names of where our Torah was, all the way from Moses, all the way to today. So there's no questions of, nobody can say, listen, the rabbi this, the rabbi that, no rabbi, no nothing. Okay, so here's the list. This is also part of the oral Torah. Moses, greatest of all prophets, gave it to Joshua, Yeshua ben Nun, not the Christian. Yeshua ben Nun, one of the greatest prophets of all time. Also gave it to Elazar, the son of Aaron, and also Pinchas. So he taught all three of them were his main students. After that, Pinchas, which was the high priest and the son of Elazar. After that was Eli, the judge and the high priest. After that, Eli gave it to Samuel, the prophet. After that, King David. After that, Achiah, the prophet. After that, Elijah, the prophet. Elisha, the prophet. Yehoiada, the high priest. Zechariah, Hosea, Amos, Isaiah, Micha. All of these are prophets I'm mentioning. Then it's Joel, or Joel, I think you say it in English. Then the next, each name I'm mentioning is a generation. Then after Joel, it's Nahum, or Nahum, I think in English, 17th already. Then after that, it's Habakkuk. Then the 19th generation, it's Zephaniah. Then 20th is Jeremiah, the prophet. Then it's Baruch, the prophet. Then, after the 22nd generation, it's Ezra the scribe. But his court, Ezra had the scribe, but he had a court, which included the prophets, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, Daniel the prophet, which we have the book of Daniel. Like all of these actually have a book of them. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, Nehemiah, Mordechai, Zerubbabel, and Shimon HaTzadik, same one that we have here, we talk about. So Shimon HaTzadik, we are already meeting some of his students, Antigonos, Yosef ben Yoezel. Then from the 24th generation to the 34th generation, there is a series of in the introduction to Mishneh Torah by the Rambam. It's a series of people. He shows you who all those people are. Then in generation 35, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe. He's the one that continued the oral Torah, and he actually abbreviated the oral Torah because the oral Torah was so massive that Rebbe knew that it was the generations are little by little deteriorating, and they're not going to be able to memorize all of this oral Torah. To give you an example, in the Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah, it says that Avraham Avinu, his Gemara Avodah Zarah, his tractate of Avodah Zarah, had 4,000 parts. 4,000 parts. Ours today is condensed to, I believe, 7. 2 books. Avodah Zarah is 2 books.
Small books.
2 books. Each one is 500 pages. Where is it? It was 1. There's 2. This is Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah. So this is Gemara Avodah Zarah right here. These 2 books. How many parts in there? Yes, 5. I'm sorry, 5 parts. We have 5 chapters in Masechet Avodah Zarah. Each one of these, I don't know, maybe 500 pages, let's say. So yes, 5 parts, let's say. So meaning these 1,000 pages, let's say, are divided into 5 parts.
So you got 4,000.
He had 4,000. Meaning that just to Avodah Zarah would fill up pretty much half this house, half this living room.
We just keep it.
You understand what I'm saying? This is the oral Torah. This is what he knew in his head. So to finish the Shas, to finish the entire, just to finish the Masechet Avodah Zarah would probably take you a lifetime. Forget about finishing the entire Shas. Today, with the minimizing that they've done, it still takes 7.5 years for someone that does Daf Yomi.
This is minimized version.
This is minimized version. So it all started with Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Rebbe, in the 35th generation after Moshe Rabbeinu, who minimized it in a brilliant abbreviated version and called it the Mishnah. And then generation 36 to 39, Rabbi Yochanan wrote the Talmud Yerushalmi. The Talmud, he wrote the Talmud, which you see here, but the Jerusalem version, which came before the Bavli, before the Babylonian Talmud. And this was written, The Talmud was written 300 years after the destruction of the Second Temple. The Second Temple was destroyed approximately 2,000 years ago. A little less than 2,000 years ago. So the Jerusalem Talmud was written 300 years after the destruction. Okay? And then in the 39th generation, Rav Asher wrote, the sage Rav Asher wrote down the Babylonian Talmud, the Talmud Bavli.
He knew all the rabbis, Abaye, and Rabbi. He knew
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Now all of that, putting together the whole Talmud, was work, massive work. It's parv. If you're asking, what is it? It's parv. Parv and it's mezonot.
Thank you.
Yeah, no. So the putting together the whole Talmud meant that you needed to know not only an enormous amount of Torah, but you needed to know everything that everyone said over the last almost 500 years. Conversation that Rebbe had with this one, the conversation that this one had with Rav, and Rav had with Rava, and Rava had with Abaye, and Abaye had with his students, and students had with Rabbi Meir. You have to know everybody's conversations, what he said, and his opinion. This is work, 500 years worth of work. He has to know everything. Amen. Everyone's work, everyone's words, because this is halachot, this is Mount Sinai, this is life or death. And it's all true. Even if one sage disagrees with the other, there's a machloket, they're both right. There's Bet Shammai and there's Bet Hillel, they're both right. We go most of the time, we go by Bet Hillel, he's more lenient. But they say that at the time of Mashiach, we're going to go by Bet Shammai. It's going to be stronger.
We're not going to
have Yetzirah, Baruch Hashem. So we see here that unlike all of the other religions where some guy had a dream in the middle of the desert and no witnesses, or some woman had a dream and somehow she got pregnant when her husband wasn't home, there's nothing like that in Judaism. Judaism, we know exactly where everything came from. And also all of the people that wrote it, all of the people that were involved in it, all of the people that said anything, we see clearly it's not their opinion. Why? You see where they got it from. You see the source is all the way to Mount Sinai. Yes, they put, pen to paper. But you see where the source came, and you see it's all the way from Mount Sinai. Now, this is everything. Because if it's from God, I can't go against it. It's from God. Who am I to tell him what to do? I agree with it, disagree with it, it's irrelevant. Your opinion is no longer relevant. He's the manufacturer, he's the creator, he's right. I agree with it, disagree with it, doesn't make a difference. But if it's for men, what makes him better than me? Even though obviously I could give you 500 million proofs of why people were much better than us 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago than today, but it doesn't make a difference. The point is he's still man, he's still frail, he still has flesh and blood, he's still faulty to a certain extent. But once you know it has a source from God, everything changes. Then whether I like it or not is no longer valid. I just have to find a way to do it. So it's very, very important for us to know where everything came from. And also this is another way that for anyone that unfortunately has the displeasure of dealing with Messianics or people that try to preach them Christianity, this is also one of the best things to explain to them about why they shouldn't believe in what their own belief. Listen, they don't necessarily all need to convert. If they want to convert, Baruch haba, more than welcome to. But they can still be righteous Gentiles. They don't have to convert. If they want to convert, help them in any way you can. If they can't handle it, or it's not possible for them to convert, at least they should be righteous Gentiles, which means they have to leave Christianity. Why? Because it's fake. One of the ways that you can see that it's at the very least unstable and not reliable is the fact that you see, look, based on its own history, on Christian history itself, the New Testament book was written between 70 to 300 years after everyone in that book died.
There's no sources.
After everyone in the book died, after JC died, after every character in that book died, after everyone died, that's when someone wrote the book. Which means,
How does he know they existed if he never saw them?
how do they know he existed, Bichlal?
Yeah.
None of the characters in the book were alive to testify about what happened. And none of the people that wrote about it have any way to say that this actually happened. There's no evidence.
Can't track it.
Can't track anything. There's no like old text message. There's no email system that they could look. They didn't have the same efficient server system that Hillary Clinton has. She deletes half the emails. They just didn't even have the system at all. You know, so you see that the point I'm trying to tell you here is that you see that there's a huge gap. That's not like a gap like it's like, listen, you can just look over it. It's like a lost page. It's like a lost page. Like, for example, there is anyone who reads Gemara, you know, there's a couple of places in the Gemara where they changed the name from the original version. Like, for example, in the Gemara, Masechet Sotah, page 47, and also in Masechet Sanhedrin, page 107, and also Masechet Shabbat, maybe 46, something like that. So all three of them mention the real story of J.C. Penney. The real story of J.C. and who he was, and it's not exactly a complimenting story. But if you notice in most Gemarot, they don't mention his name. They say student. They say student. They just mention a student of his Rav, what's his name? Yeshua ben Parchia. The student of Yeshua ben Parchia. And they talk about the whole thing that happened. In the Gemara Masechet Sotah, it talks about exactly the details of what happened, where pretty much the Yeshua ben Parchia, the rabbi, the sage, was traveling, and you know they were hiding first. They were hiding from the Romans, and then he found out that there's peace, so he was coming back into town. But he stopped over at some righteous person's house, and this righteous person's wife was very accommodating, very nice lady. She was giving him food and so on, and the rabbi, Rabbi Yeshua, was saying to his students, look what nice midot she has. Like what derech eretz she has. And the student, which is we find out as JC, says, she's ugly. Look, her eyes are crooked. First of all, he misunderstood the rabbi, thinking that what he said was instead of her having derech eretz, was she looked good. He was just saying she has good midot. And some say he misunderstood it. But either way, his answer was completely inappropriate, saying, no, she has crooked eyes, she's not even good looking. And there's another maaseh, there's another event where they say that he looked at other women. Long story short, the rabbi said, this is rasha. This is what you learn from me. You learn to occupy your mind by looking at women, especially somebody's wife. And he kicked him out. So then he tried coming and apologizing twice. And the rabbi, wanted to teach him some mussar. He was a very strong rabbi, and he rejected him the first two times. To show that he's serious. He really did teshuvah. And it says basically, if you're, if you wronged somebody, you have to ask for forgiveness 3 times. But it also says that if it's a Talmid Chacham, 1,000 times is not enough. But either way, Yeshua ben Parchia was planning on forgiving him on a 3rd time. But Jesus came on the third time, but when did he come? Obviously showing he didn't do teshuvah, he didn't do nothing. When did he come? In the middle of prayer. They were praying shachrit. Now halacha is, you're not allowed to speak during your prayers. Not like the Bet Knesset where everybody talks like about baseball and football and the elections. You're not allowed to speak during prayer. It's asur. It's a house of HaShem. You're not allowed to speak anything other than prayer in Bet Knesset. It's not that. It's a big avirah. So obviously the sages, you didn't have to tell him that. So he's praying in Bet Knesset. He's praying, and what is he doing? Especially he's doing Kriyat Shema. He's doing Shema Yisrael. Now Shema Yisrael, in Gemara Masechet Brachot, it says even if a king comes into the Bet Knesset, a king comes, you're not allowed to stop Kriyat Shema. Only if your life is in danger. Only if your life is in danger. So now, scorpion. So now, he's in Kriyat Shema, and this guy is, trying to get his attention. So the rabbi is trying, he can't talk to him. So he goes like this to him, meaning, come back, like I can't talk to you right now. What are you gonna tell him? Listen, I can't talk. You can't tell him. So he's standing like this, like he's waving him. So Jesus takes it a different way than he's supposed to, or maybe the way that he really wanted to take it just didn't. Whatever the case may be, and he completely falls off. He says, you reject me. He goes against, he leaves town, he goes and learns sorcery. He goes to people that worship idols and learns sorcery from them. Some people say he learned sorcery and that's how he did some of the magic tricks that he did. Some people say that he took the secret of knowing Hashem's name from Rabbi Yoshua and used it in order to, the full name of Hashem, used it to make magic. I don't know if he tattooed it or not. All I know is that the point is that whether he made magic or he didn't make magic doesn't make a difference. The point is they said that's how the story goes. But then the Gemara continues and says that Rabbi Yoshua came back to him and asked him to do teshuvah. Do teshuvah. And he says, no, it's too late for me. As I learned from you, anyone that's a machtia rabim, anyone that causes the public to sin, they don't let him do teshuvah. Meaning, he felt that he can't do teshuvah anymore. Why? Because he led him to make sins. Why did he make him do sins? He made them idol worship, made him into an idol, and so on. So that's the story of Jesus in the Gemara. Now, there's a few other places that mention the name Jesus in the Gemara. So, first thing is, to come back to our point, is that we see that in the Gemara, it doesn't actually say his name in many versions of the Gemara. You buy, whether it's in Art Scroll or other versions, sometimes they won't mention the name Jesus. They'll mention just Talmid, student. And some of them don't have the whole story at all. Like they don't have the whole story I just told you, they cut that out of the Gemara. Why? Because approximately 700 years ago, the Christians saw a Gemara and they took offense to it, saying that they're talking bad about their God. How one of the Gemarot says he's a kofer, he's a heretic. Another one says he's in gehinom. Each story gets worse than the other. They took it very, very personally, and they started killing Jews over it. Started burning Gemarot. So, for the sake of Am Yisrael, they cut that piece out of the Gemara. But there was still some. The truth always finds a way to win. The real version still survived. But even today, it's not the easiest thing for a big company or a big publishing company to just say, listen, by the way, your GC, he's in hell. So they don't just say student, it's not going to help anybody to tell them that.
He's in hell also. The KIRUV.
Yeah, the Goyim say it in their book. Some of their own sages say that he went to hell and he came out.
He's in hell because he's suffering for our sins.
So that's one. So first thing, so we see there's certain changes in there, but again, even the changes, we know where the changes happened. You see what I'm saying here? So even the stuff that we know is different from the original, we know exactly when it changed. We even try. Judaism is one of the beauties about it is that we could even track the changes of when those changes happened and what they were, meaning that we could always get back to the original. And because there wasn't that many changes anyway, and any one of the changes, we have a reason for it. If it's to save Am Yisrael from murdering, then obviously we're going to change something to take out this little story that's not necessary. You understand? So that's one. The second thing about that point is that why do they mention it in the Gemara several times? One of the reasons they mention it in the Gemara is to teach us that when you're rebuking somebody, you should push with one arm and pull with the other. You can't be overly stringent with people and with your students, or with family, or with people that are in your life and just push everyone away. So over here we're learning on one end, yes, lech lecha, you have to leave your place of your nation, you have to leave your or your country, you have to leave your place of birth, you have to leave your father's house. Yes, on one end I tell you, listen, you have to make certain sacrifices and move on with your life. But we're not saying leave them and completely disassociate with them forever. What we're saying here is that if you look at the continuation of this story, you see that initially Avraham left, but then eventually you see Terah is back in the story. His father is back in the story because Terah eventually did teshuvah. He didn't continue an idol worshiper for the rest of his life, but since he actually made other people sin, he had to come back in a gilgul. He had to come back in a reincarnation. And Chazal says in the Zohar Kadosh says that Terah came back as a gilgul as Job. Job, which is the one that suffered an extraordinary amount of suffering. And one of the sources that shows that Terah and Job were the same neshama were the fact that they said that they responded to their wives the same way. When there was different when disaster struck and they got upset at their wife, they both responded the same way, the same words to the wives. So the point here is that, yes, at one point you're going to have to make a certain sacrifice and leave everything behind, leave your friends behind, leave whoever behind, and get yourself stronger, get yourself closer to HaShem. Get yourself really, really close to Him and strong enough to do KIRUV. Strong enough to do KIRUV. You can't just go hang out at the bar a week after you started keeping Shabbat, thinking you're going to get everybody else to keep Shabbat. First, you have to show people that Judaism is not a nice thing to do. It's part of you. Torah is not just a hobby. It's you. You need it. Once you show them it's priority number one, that character trait, that choice is stronger than any word you can say. But if you tell them, listen, today I learned Torah, tomorrow I'm going to hang out with you. Or you know what, if it's better for you, I'll hang out with you today and tomorrow I'll do Torah. Which means that Torah is like an elective. You can do it sometimes, not do it sometimes. They're more important than Torah. Sometimes the Torah is more important than them. Sometimes, like if you here and there, that's going to be more valuable to them than any words you're going to say. Meaning they're not going to listen to anything. I said, listen, his Torah is sometimes valuable, sometimes not valuable. When he decides, I'll decide. So that's also something very important. But at the same token, you have to, so one end, you can't push them away completely, disassociate with them, never call them again, nothing. Or call every single person on the street, Rasha, Rasha, Rasha. You can't do that. On the other hand, you can't be one of them. So you have to pull them in a little bit. Hey, listen, let's hang out. But you know what? Let's hang out. It's Shiur Torah. You know what? When I hang out, okay, come to my house. And already, when he comes to your house, you already have a Shiur Torah playing. You know, you're not going to watch cable television, Chas v'Shalom. What are you going to do? So you put a DVD in there of Rabbi Mizrahi's shiur. You put a YouTube on there. You watch one of our shiurim, and it's already playing in the background. The guy's going to hear, oh, what is that? Oh, and you say, oh, let's listen to it 5 minutes. Next thing you know, the guy's listening for 2 hours. So you have to be smart. So you have to be creative with things like this. You pull in one hand, you push with the other hand, and as HaShem, you help people do teshuvah. So here, so far we've learned that in order for us to do teshuvah ourselves and to help other people, we have to know a few things. Number one, we need to know that what we're doing is not our opinion. It's something that has direct sources, direct records all the way from Mount Sinai. Once you know this is directly from God, it gives you all the conviction you need to do it and to preach it. Because if it's just your opinion will change. Eventually your opinion will change. Today you like blue, tomorrow you like green, next week maybe you like pink, and 2 weeks from now you don't like any color. 6 months later you like white because it's this and that. Your opinion's going to change. But if it's from God, it doesn't change. Then you know, wait, this is God. God said this. God said this. Then it's all the conviction you need. So that's one, for you to do it. Second thing is, when you talk about it, you're going to have a lot more passion about it, because again, who doesn't want to spread the word of God? If God spoke to you Mount Sinai, you're not going to tell everybody? People get a bracha from some rabbi. They get, they tell the whole world for 30 years. People went to the Rebbe from Lubavitch 30 years ago. They got a dollar bill. Till this day, they tell the story. Okay, the Rebbe was a big tzaddik. But come on, man, you got a dollar. Okay, it's not, you didn't get Ruach HaKodesh. Relax. I also got a dollar when I was a little kid. It doesn't make me a tzaddik, it doesn't make me anything. Okay, you got a dollar. But, so that's the thing. But you got a message from God. You have something bigger. What do you have? You have the 5 books of Moses. You have a Tanakh. You have Gemara. You have Mishnah. You have the word of God in your hand. You're not going to publicize it to people? You don't need a bracha from anybody. You have God. God wrote this. God put this in paper. Doesn't get better than this. So once you understand this is from God, and you realize that I know it didn't change because I just heard this is the list of people, prophets, sages, kings, direct historical lesson of who exactly delivered Torah all the way to this generation. Okay, this is I have sources that are reliable. I have proof this is from God, and it hasn't changed all the way to now, and any change I can track. So if they change a name to student, I know why. And any other changes that are in the Torah, in the oral Torah, there's a reason for it and you can track them. There's even books about it of certain things that have changed over the years and why. But it's not like thousands or anything like that. There's a few changes here and there. No, halakha doesn't change. Halakha is from Mount Sinai. There's certain things that are no longer relevant. We can't do during our times, but halakha doesn't change. There's minagim. There's a customs that change, but not halakha. So now you have yourself all the conviction you need in order to publicize the Torah, because now you know it's from God. It's not anybody's opinion. It's not Yaron's opinion. It's not Rabbi Mizrahi's opinion. It's not anybody's opinion. It's not your opinion. It's God's opinion. That is something I want to sell. It's the best product in the world. So that's one. 2, it's not going to be easy. Why? Because no one wants to listen. Why? Because if they listen, they already know ahead of time. Their Yetzirah already knows. If I listen to this, I know he's right. And I can't, if I know he's right and I'm wrong, I can't continue doing what I'm doing. Because that would make me insane. To know that what you're doing is wrong, but continuing to do it would make you insane. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, meaning that you're expecting it to be right eventually. No one does anything intentionally knowing that it's wrong. Meaning that if you continue to do it, you think that it's eventually going to be right. But if you know it's not going to be right, because he's right, I can't continue to do it. I have to change. But I don't want to change. There lies the problem. So sometimes you're going to have to chase people. You have to call them. You have to invite them. You have to text them. You have to email them. You have to Facebook them. You have to WhatsApp them. You have to show up at their house. You have to do whatever you want. You have to do everything. Send them packages. You have to do all these different things to chase all these different Jews non-stop to just give them a chance. To give you guys a understanding of this is a mystical story, but I know you guys like mystical stuff. It's a good story.
Is this Bob, by the way?
Yes. Yes. Man.
Which Talmud is more important, the Babel or the Jerusalem?
We go by the Talmud Bavli. We go by the Talmud Bavli. And the reason why we go by the Talmud Bavli is because Talmud Bavli was written after the Yerushalmi, which means that the ones that put together the Bavli saw everything that the Yerushalmi wrote already, which they included.
Made it better.
Right. But there's some people that,
It's good to learn both, right?
yeah, of course, it's a big ma'ala, it's a big high level. Any big Talmidim Chachamim, they learn both of them. Yeah. But the overall majority of the focus is Bavli. So there was a big tzaddik, to give you guys an understanding of the value of a neshama, a Jewish neshama. There was a big tzaddik a few hundred years ago named Rabbi Pinchas from Kuritz. Kuritz was a place that was born. It is a crazy story. So this tzaddik was he had Ruach HaKodesh, and one of the last generations perhaps that had Ruach HaKodesh, and he would deal with all types of really mystical things, really high level stuff like helping neshamot from previous generations, dibukim, all types of stuff like that. Now, he had 10 students, and he had to deal with them. I'll pay you each 1 ruble, which was a lot of money at the time. Pay you 1 ruble, and for each pay period, I don't know if it was every 2 weeks or every month, whatever it was considered a lot of money. Pay you each 1 ruble, and you only study Torah. Don't do anything else. You don't have to worry about anything. So let's say, for example, everybody else that would learn Torah in other places would probably get a quarter of that. So they got plenty of money. All they needed to do, learn Torah. That's it. And one of his students, the one that was like the manager to give out the money, all of them had a lot of high respect for Rabbi Pinchas. And they would never bother him about nothing. All they focused on, learn Torah. And the manager, also a lot of respect for the Rav. Very rarely we would ask him with anything. Every month, you'd come to him, ask him for the money for the people, or the Rav would come to him, give him the 10 rubles, because 10 students. He'd give out to the 9 people, take 1 for himself, and that's it. The rest of the time, they leave the rabbi alone to do whatever he needs to do. And once in a while, he would come and teach them some things, but overall, everybody was on autopilot. One day, the manager gets the envelope with the money, and he sees there's only 9 rubles. There's 1 missing. Now he's going to go to the Rav. Hey Rav, you forgot how to count. Missing 1 over here. You tell the Rav you made a mistake. It's not kavod. It's not like today where people write you on the internet, hey, you made a mistake. It's Bar Koziba, not Shabtai Tzvi. They make sure that you know that you made a mistake on some name that's irrelevant. It's not like today. They say, Rabbi, you made a mistake. You're not going to say. It's kavod to the Rav. So he says, listen, maybe I made a mistake. Okay, so this month, I'm not going to get paid.
This is the manager saying this.
Manager is saying, I'm not going to get paid. He gives everybody the 9. For himself, he doesn't take it. Tzaddik. Another month, gets an envelope. Rav Pinchas gives him, how many?
9.
9. Is he going to go to the Rav or not going to go to the Rav? He's not going to go to the Rav. Tzaddik, he's not going to go to the Rav. He's thinking to himself, Kaparat avonot, what can I do? Maybe it's repentance for my sins. What can I do? I'm not getting paid again. Said that again. He pays everybody. Another month, gets envelope. How many? 9. Again 9. It's the third month. Now he's poverty. Now he has no money. He's 3 months. All the savings are gone. He has no money to eat. He's a mamash poverty. But he's still not going to go to the Rav, disturb the Rav. The Rav is fixing neshamot. I'm going to go disturb him. Another month. By the 4th month, he got the envelope. Again 9. The same day, some businessman walks into the yeshiva and comes to him. He says, hey, you interested in making some quick money? He goes, why, what do you have? He goes, I have a bunch of flour, sacks of flour. Try to sell it. Every big sack that you sell, pay you 1 ruble. The guy says, listen, I need to eat. Okay, fine. Closes the Gemara, goes out. Within a few hours, he sells the whole sack. He thought it's going to take him a whole week to sell the sack. Within a few hours, sells the whole sack. The guy says, the businessman says, okay, tomorrow I'm going to give you 2 sacks. Next day, few hours, sold 2 sacks. So already, now, what do you make? Made 3 rubles. He goes, okay, let me sell 1 more sack and make up for the last few months. The businessman says, listen, obviously you have some talent here. Let's do this. I have some money. You have talent. You're a good salesman. I'm going to open a fancy supermarket. With all the nice things that I can bring from different places, the fruits, the vegetables, all the different tasty things that we can bring. I'll invest all the money. You run the place, 50-50.
I hope the manager said no.
Opportunity of a lifetime.
Opportunity of a lifetime, making millions of dollars in a second. What are you gonna do? Nothing. What are you gonna do? You're gonna show up. He says, okay, fine, no problem. And back in those days, it's not like today you had to do a lot of construction and get title from the city, permits, this, that. Within a week, you got a supermarket. So they built the place up. That's it. He's running a supermarket. And he starts running the supermarket. Everybody comes. It's very successful. But still, every month, he comes to the yeshiva, collects the money from the Rav, and gives it to the people. But how much is he getting? 9. He's still getting 9 rubles. He's not getting 10. Still every month. So he says, listen, if I would have continued, I still would have been broke. Still giving me only 9. But at least I have this job now that I can make some money.
50-50.
So he's making money. One day this paritz, sort of like a local king or a mayor. But a mayor is not really strong enough because a mayor of today is just a guy that you see in the news once in a while. Mayor of those days was able to kill people if they wanted. Somebody goes against them, they say the wrong word, they look at them the wrong way, they kill them on the spot. Death penalty. So Paritz one day tells his people, listen, give me orange juice. And they bring him orange juice and he hates it. He goes, give me the best orange juice we have. All the money I have, you can't give me orange juice. He's like, listen, there is really good orange juice, but the only place we can get it from is from this Jew who has a supermarket. But we don't want to give any money to the Jews. He goes, get it from the Jews, get it from whoever. Go get me some orange juice. What do I care about where it's from? So, these anti-Semites, they don't want to give any business to the Jews. So they go to the supermarket, they get him some orange juice, they bring it to the Paritz. The Paritz drinks the orange juice, he's like, it's like he's in heaven. It's like, I have to meet this person who has this orange juice. He gets up, gets on his horses, and goes to the supermarket. He meets him, He sees all the wonderful fruits and vegetables and everything he has. And he comes to the manager, to the Jew. He says, listen, I see all the stuff you have. This is delicious, this is amazing. I'm going to make a deal. Everything from my castle, everything we're going to buy from you. All the food that's going to supply our castle, everything's going to buy for you. It's like $1 million contract. This guy, that's it. He was doing good. Now he's, like I say in my lecture about my personal story. He was already doing well. Now he's printing money.
How'd that thing?
So now he's doing really well. A few months pass. He's still going to the kollel, collecting 9 rubles from the rabbi, and giving it to the people. After a few months of this big contract with the Paritz, the Paritz tells him, listen, I trust you, you're good, you're an honorable businessman, everything you promised, you gave, this, that, but I want to ask you for a favor. It's also business. And the reason I'm asking is because you're the only person that I could say is reliable and trustworthy. He said, what do you want? He's like, listen, I don't have any children. I don't have any kids. And I want something for people to remember me by. So I want to make a statue of myself. Not a statue of rock, of stone. It goes, breaks, this, that. It's nothing special. So I have a lot of diamonds and rubies and so on. And what I want to do is I want you to take it to these really crafty people in India and have them make me the same statue, but just for my diamonds. So I'm going to give you my statue that's made from stone, and I'm going to give you the whole chest worth of diamonds and rubies. And you go to India for me, if you get the statue made, come back, I'll give you whatever you want. Now, in reality, the manager here, the tzaddik, was not going to the kollel anymore. He's only going to collect the check. He's saying to himself, listen, it's not like I can tell him no. He's going to kill me. So it's not like I have it's like a no option kind of option. It's an offer that he can't refuse, like the mobsters used to say. So he says, okay. But on another end, if I do it, Baruch HaShem, I'll make a lot of money. I can donate money to Rav Pinchas. I can do KIRUV. Do something, buy some CDs, maybe a few generations later. Who knows? From Wall Street to the Western Wall too. $1 a CD, you can do something. KIRUV packages. They're not cheap. You don't need all these diamonds. So anyway, he says, okay. He gets on a ship, and the captain of the ship is a Rasha Merusha, who notices that this guy is paying too much attention to these 2 giant boxes that he brought with him. So he stops along the way at an island. It's like, okay, we're taking a break. Why don't you guys take a walk? I'll honk the horn in a half hour, and then you guys know to come back. And 45 minutes to an hour, we're going to take off.
The shofar.
Yeah. So he gets off, gets a walk, sees the island, nice island. He hears the honk of the horn after a half hour. He starts walking back. He gets back to the beach, and he sees that the ship has already sailed off and far away and left them on an island by himself. And this is a real story, by the way. It leaves this righteous Jew who used to be a manager of a kollel on an island by himself, and the only thing he has is the thing that he always carried with him, which was his talit and tefillin. That is a bag that he took with himself all the time.
That was good.
And that's all he has. All the money, all the gold, all the everything, all his life, his wife, everything, gone. He's on an island by himself. He doesn't have a cell phone. So now he starts walking around the island. He goes, what do I have? So he starts looking for food, and he sees this amazing trees and fruits and vegetables. So he starts picking foods, taste this, starts tasting different things. Everything's good, but then there's one tree with what are they called? Agas. Pear. A pear tree. He said this pear tree is out of this world. Like pears, like he's never tasted before. And every time he's like, you know what can I do here? I can't learn my Gemara, I can't learn my Mishnah, I can't learn Chumash, what can I do here? So at least what I'm going to do is every day, when I do my 2 brachot, on this pear, and on the water from the river, I'm going to do the bracha, with all the kavanah, with all the focus in the world, just to do the best bracha in the world. So at least I know that I haven't lost my mind. I am close to HaShem. The best I can do. What can I do? I don't have my Gemara. I don't have my nothing. So at least when I do this bracha, HaShem gave me this beautiful, amazing pear that's so delicious. I'm going to do this bracha with all the kavanah in the world. And that's what he did. Every day, before we eat the pear, it's Baruch Atah HaShem, Elokeinu Melech HaOlam, Borei Pri Ha'etz. And he'd take it and he'd bite it and he'd go into it. He'd feel HaShem within this pear. Mamash, like all the meaning, all the kavanah in the world. Not 2-second prayer like we do. Mamash, take his time. And then the water, the same thing. Shakonya midvaro. And a few months pass, and eventually he sees that there's only one pear left. This last pear, before the next season starts growing new pears, because the rest of them are not ready. These pears are not ready. There's only one ready, fresh one. This one's going to have more kavanah than the rest of them. It's the last one. I don't know when the next one I'm going to get. It's going to be months, maybe. So he does a blessing, but this blessing is better than all the blessings he's done in the last few months. And as he finishes this pear, he hears a horn of a ship. He runs to the beach. He sees a ship just off the coast. He waves, "Hey, I'm here." He looks like he's from the movie Castaway. Beard, looks like a caveman. So after they check to make sure that he's not a crazy person, they bring him on board and take him back home. As soon as he comes home, without skipping a beat, he goes directly to his Rav. He doesn't go to the paritz. He's scared he's going to kill him. What are you going to tell him? Listen, the guy threw me off the ship and I lost all your diamonds. He's going to kill him on the spot. Does he care that he threw him off? He didn't throw him off. So where does he go? He goes to his rabbi, Rav Pinchas. Runs to Rav Pinchas from Kuritz. And this time he doesn't have the kavod he used to have as far as wait for the rabbi, tell him, no tell him. This guy just spent the last 6 months on an island. He goes to the rabbi, for the Rav. Rav season, yes. Why did you shortchange me 1 ruble? So the Rav says, go, take a shower, clean yourself up, get a haircut, come back, I'll tell you the whole story.
Introduction?
So he goes, cleans up, comes back, he goes, yes, because his rabbi was telling him for a reason.
Surprise his wife.
So he comes back to the Rav, he said, yeah, why did you shortchange me? He said, part of what I do is I try to help neshamot get to their tikkun. There was one neshama that no matter how many prayers and how many different sessions of learning and different fasts that I would do, they wouldn't let it go. They said, you can't fix this neshama. You can't fix this neshama. He's too wicked, did too many bad things. Can't fix this one. Yeah, but it's an important neshama. And he tried to fast for it. He tried to fix it. He tried to do all these different things to save the soul from going to eternal gehinom. And he got to an agreement with the Bet Din of Shamayim. And he told him, listen, There's only one condition. We give you one deal. What's the deal? We're going to put this neshama inside a pit in the middle of the world, in the middle of an island. And the only way that the neshama can be fixed is if somebody does a blessing with full kavanah. And he says, and I knew that the only one that can give a blessing with full kavanah is you, my student. But I knew that if I told you this, it would be kavanah, but not full kavanah. So the only way that I can get you to do this mission is by putting you in a desperate situation where you had no option. To go to the supermarket, you make money, then you lose everything, then you go on an island and you don't have anything, and then you have the fruits and you enjoy the fruits, and even that you lose and you only have one fruit left, and that's the pair that needed the tikkun. And as soon as you made the blessing on that pair, the ship came at that time. Because you fixed the neshama, you fixed the tikkun, now you come back, we learn just like we did before. And don't worry about the Paritz, he already died a few months ago. His whole house went on fire. Shows you...
What is business?
Business is worth nothing, it's gone. But shows you that if Rabbi Pinchas from Kuwait was worried so much about a neshama that already passed, how valuable is a neshama that's still here, how much you have to work to go get them to come back to HaShem. Neshama that's still alive here. You understand? Crazy story, real story.
And then he got 10 rupees every time.
He got 10 rupees after that, yeah. So you have an understanding of how valuable is a neshama. So now that we know we got the teachings from where we got it from, now the next Mishnah Aleph Hey, says Yossi ben Yoezer ish Tzreda Omer, the first out of the two, Yossi, the son of Yoezer, leader of Tzreda, says, Yi betcha bet vad lechachamim, והווה מתאבק באף רגליהם, והווה שותה בצמא את דבריהם. Let your house be a meeting place for Torah scholars. You shall become dusty in the dust of their feet, and you shall drink in their words with thirst. Sounds like a tongue twister. Very complicated message here. Says, let your house be the meeting place of Torah scholars. Okay, that we understand. That we understand. So first, Chazal is telling us that Yossi ben Yoezer, when he says, let your house be the meeting place for Torah scholars, he's trying to fulfill one of the three pillars of creation that his teacher Shimon HaTzadik said. If you remember, Shimon HaTzadik said on three things the world is standing on, and they are Torah, the service of God, and love, the acts of loving kindness. So Yossi ben Yoezer is trying to fulfill one of them. He's saying the success at studying Torah. What do you need in order to succeed in studying Torah? Now, of course, yes, as Rashi says, if you want to get yourself friends, buy books. It's the most reliable friend in the world. Books are your most reliable. You can learn something from them, and you know it's the truth. It's Torah. People, not always necessarily truthful. So Rashi's best friends were books.
No TVs.
Definitely not TVs. So, now there are certain things that you can do in order to magnify your success in Torah. Now we know that Torah is learned. Obviously it's something you have to learn. You have to read books. You can't just wake up one day and you know everything. But in reality, the majority of what you know is not from what you learned, but rather from Siyata Dishmaya. It all depends on how much Siyata Dishmaya you have. And Siyata Dishmaya means assistance from heaven. So, as it says, if you actually have the art scroll Talmud Bavli, it's probably also in the Yerushalmi as well. But it says there's a sort of, not necessarily a blessing, but it's sort of like a saying that you say before you learn Torah in general, not just a Gemara, that it says, יהי רצון מפניך השם אלוהי, שלא ירא דבר תקלה על ידי, ולא יקשה בדבר הלכה וישמחו בי חבריי, ולא אומר על טמא טהור, ולא על טהור טמא, ולא יקשלו חבריי בדבר הלכה, ואשמח בהם, כי השם ייתן חכמה מפיו, דעת ותבונה, גל עיניי, והביט הנפלאו מתורתך. Translation, may it be your will, Hashem, my God, that a mishap not come about through me, and may I not stumble in a matter of law, meaning halacha, and cause my colleagues to rejoice over me, meaning I not stumble and then a bunch of people make fun of me. And may I not say regarding something which is tameh, that it's tahor, and not regarding something that's tahor, that's tameh. Meaning, may I not learn things the opposite way, misunderstand them, say that something that's kosher is not kosher, something that's not kosher is kosher. So may I learn, whatever I learn it the right way. And may my colleagues not stumble in a matter of law, and I rejoice over them. Meaning, may I not be one of these people that say gets over him, so gets too much jealousy in his head, where I see other people succeeding and I don't like it, and when they fail, I celebrate. Like sometimes you have, unfortunately, this is part of the Satan. This is part of what the Satan does. That when we do KIRUV. So as I told you guys before, the obviously there's battles that you have to fight all the time. There's different tikkunim that you have to go through, whether it's having 103 fever 2 days ago or yesterday, or different things with parnasah, or different things with all different types of things. But sometimes that's part of life. But sometimes you have to battle with the biggest enemy. And the biggest enemy, before I got into KIRUV, I thought the biggest enemy would be, I don't know, maybe goyim, that didn't like Judaism, anti-Semites, or maybe the biggest enemy would be people that are anti-religion, or communists, or something, yevseksia, like we talked about in that shiur we did about the Holocaust, or maybe atheists. I don't know. Who could be the biggest enemy? I didn't think about this too much. Just got into it, head first. To my surprise, who's the biggest enemy? Baruch Hashem, is not many, but there's a few. Rabbis. Fake rabbis. So, and why are they enemies? Obviously, they have a big yetzara miskinim, poor people. They have a big yetzara, they can't control themselves. But the reason why they're falling here, and what are they doing? They, instead of helping the KIRUV message, spreading the word to people, hey, listen, you want to do teshuvah, go listen to this lecture, it's very motivating, it talks about this, talks about that, or if you don't like it, don't say nothing. I didn't say you have to work for me and publicize it. You don't publicize, don't publicize it, don't say nothing.
Like the video that we saw.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
So here's the thing, you want to say something, good, say something good. You don't want to say nothing, keep quiet. But sometimes people are haters. And they don't like when somebody else succeeds and they didn't succeed. They're in the same position 30 years, they haven't moved, they still have their basic keilah, 75% of them still don't even keep Shabbat. And you come into town and already got 30, 40 people keeping Shabbat within a few months. You don't even think they're followers, just people start keeping Shabbat, but it's from you, not from them. So they have a problem with it. So these people are haters. And miskinim, I feel bad for them, because if they don't do teshuvah, they have a serious problem on their hand that they won't be able to fix after this life. But anyway, it says here, may my colleagues not stumble in the matter of law, and I rejoice over them. Meaning, may I not be one of those people where I see somebody failing, and I'm happy over it. Where I become a hater. I become one of these people that wants other people to fail, because I want to be the only one that succeeds. Meaning, I'm learning Torah for the wrong reason. Not learning Torah lishma. I'm not learning Torah for the sake of Torah. I'm learning Torah for fame, for fortune, for publicity, for honor, for all the wrong reasons. So already you're saying in this blessing or saying, and this has a source in Masechet Brachot, page 28b. Then it says, it quotes a verse in Proverbs, in Mishlei, chapter 2, verse 6. For Hashem grants wisdom, From his mouth come knowledge and understanding of God. Unveil my eyes that I may perceive wonders from your Torah. And the last part comes from Psalms. So now, here if you see what it says in Proverbs, what Shlomo Melech says, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding of God. Right after it says Hashem grants wisdom. Meaning that, yes, you're going to learn this Gemara. It's going to be difficult. And you're going to learn, you're going to break your head until you finish the first page. I remember when I first started learning Gemara, to finish one daf would take me 6 to 6.5 hours. One page, 6 to 6.5 hours. I would lose my mind. I'm like, I don't understand it. I mean, I've read a lot of books in my life, Baruch Hashem. I wasn't exactly an idiot before I got into this. I read psychology books, biology books, financial books, books. I wrote a lot of articles, did a lot of, I was in the financial industry. And I was also, a student in college and this and that. I read books, Baruch Hashem. I come into this Gemara, 6.5 hours for one page. I wanted to rip my hair out. And still, even after the 6.5 hours, I barely understand anything.
Fixes the break also to fix the mind.
It fixed a lot, eventually. But it took a long time. A lot of effort. And then you see, you start learning, and you learn, you go through it, and to finish the first Gemara was a nightmare. It was like so difficult, and honestly, the only reason I first Gemara, I wanted to quit 500 times. But Rabbi Ephraim, tzaddik that he is, kept me going. No, this is it. It's going to get better. He's such a tzaddik.
Well, I'm glad you did. That's why I'm here.
So Baruch Hashem kept me going. When I finished the first Masechet, I'm not even talking about the Shas or this. First Masechet Brachot, which is like 2 books like this. Masechet Brachot. Honestly, I felt like I just conquered a nation. It's like, me and the Mashiach are close now. You feel like you're like a little mini Moses. You finished the first Masechet, even if it took you however long it took you to finish it. It's like, wow. But you feel different. But so I learned something from it. But in the reality, you think that all the stuff that I tell you guys, I learned all this stuff? I'm telling you, there's something called Siyata Dishmaya. There's knowledge that Hashem gives you, puts you in your mouth. That all of a sudden you figure things out. You have chidushim. You have different things that Hashem gives you. Not that you just learned it, but you get a certain understanding or even certain knowledge that's instilled within you once you've earned it. As it says in Proverbs, Hashem grants wisdom. Meaning, yes, you're going to learn from this book. You're going to read this book once, twice, 500 times, doesn't matter. Each time you're going to learn something new. But Hashem is going to decide when you're going to figure certain things out from this book and when, based on your effort.
The more you learn, the easier it becomes. Some rabbis could learn it easily. The Gemara, the more you learn.
Sure, but again, there's learning the Gemara like Rav Kanievsky. He learns the entire Shas, Yerushalmi, Bavli, all the Midrashim, all the Shulchan Aruch, all of pretty much everything, every year, all of them every year, which is something that's not even human for the rest of us, to finish one of them every year. But still, he still gets new Torah wisdom every year as a result of his effort, not necessarily as a result of him reading it over again. There's a certain amount of Siyat Dishmaya. It's hard to explain Siyat Dishmaya without somebody having it. It's like explaining a blind person the color blue. You could tell him it's blue. It's like oh, I don't know, I never saw blue. It's like the sky. Okay, what's the sky? It's like the ocean. What's the ocean? It's like green, but it's not green. It's blue. What's green? It's like, you don't understand. So, Siyata Dishmaya is one of those things, like, you really can't explain until somebody feels it, but you get the idea, basically. So, your Torah knowledge is, the more you study, the more you exert your effort, the more you break a sweat, the more sacrifices you make, the more is going to be granted to you. Meaning, you can read the same parasha 500 times. But if you've exerted enough effort, you'll understand or get a chidush from that parasha that you never even thought about at the time you read it, or at a different time bichlal. They don't want to say, one day you just wake up, you're like, wait a minute, Parashat Lech Lecha, I remember it says verse this, that. all of a sudden you figure something out. For what? You didn't even think about it. Hashem's going to give you that chidush. And in certain chidushim, Chazal says, certain chidushim that only you can get. Only your neshama can get. And it won't come to the world until your neshama gets it. So, BeEzrat Hashem, we'll have this chut one day.
Amen.
So now, there are certain things that you need to do in order to succeed at Torah study. So first one we understand is that you have to study. You have to exert effort. You can't go hang out at the bar twice a week and expect to be a successful scholar. You can't be a busy 18, 20 hours a day in business and expect to be a scholar. You can't watch sports 5, 10 hours a day and expect to be a Talmid Chacham. Honestly, I don't know if you could watch sports at all and be a Talmid Chacham, but let's say you can. Maybe, I don't know, half hour a week or something. But everybody is at their own level. Point being is that Yosef ben Yoezel is telling you one of the ways that is going to help you succeed in learning Torah is surround yourselves with Torah scholars. Make your house a place for them to meet. Don't be one of these people that has all this fancy house. People like fancy houses today. They always did. They spent $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, $30 million. You see all the stuff on it today. Fancy houses and chandeliers for $25,000, 16 cars and no drivers in the driveway. You have this, you have that, you have, 20 rooms, all this stuff, and barely anybody home, just a couple and a dog. You have all these big houses and nothing, it's empty. What's it for? It's for show. So one day, once a year, they have, the mayor come over, they can show them, oh, wow, look at this nice house, look at the chandelier. Or if Forbes comes, they can take a picture, oh wow, look at this chandelier they have. It's all for show. He's telling you here, Yosef ben Yoezel says, no. Your house, you want to succeed in Torah, you want to have bracha in your house, make sure you have it as a regular meeting place for Torah scholars, Talmidim Chachamim. Because if you have constant, if your house turns into a place, we have Shiurei Torah there, where there's on a regular basis with the Talmidim Chachamim, on a regular basis, they feel comfortable coming to your house. Whether you like it or not, you're going to benefit out of it. Number one, you're going to benefit out of it from the bracha they bring to your house. All the Torah, all the blessings, all the things that you bring to your house, already you benefit. And number two, you shall become dusty in the dust of their feet. So one of the pirushim, what does it mean, dusty in the dust of their feet? Meaning if you're following somebody really closely, like in the desert, the dust from their feet hits you. So if you follow really, really closely Talmidim Chachamim, you can overhear what they say. Whether you like it or not, it's going to affect you. The Torah, the wisdom they have is going to affect you. You're going to become a Talmid Chacham one day, BeEzrat Hashem. If you're constantly around Talmidim Chachamim, you're going to become a Talmid Chacham. You're constantly next to losers, you're going to be a loser. You're constantly next to winners, you're going to be a winner. You're going to be next to tzaddikim, you're going to be a tzaddik. So, but it's not like if you're next to them, once a month, once a year. No, if you're on a regular basis, you're constantly making an effort to be next to people that are learning Torah on a regular basis. Whatever you can do, bring them to your house, arrange shurim, invite them, whatever you can do, bring them over to get them to be next to you at all times. Why? Because you just want to hear what they say. Now you want to tell them what you know. Listen, for the Rav, look, I read Masechet Brachot, and I want to tell you, what do you think of... No, who cares what you say? Come there with 2 ears and 1 mouth. For the Rav, Lamdeni, teach me, for the Rav. In Gemara Masechet Chagiga, 2 students of, I believe it's Rabbi Yoshua, but don't quote me on the name. 2 students of one of the big tzaddikim. They were big tzaddikim also. All mentioned by name, which means all 3 of them were able to revive the dead. But two students of a Tana. Teacher comes up there and he says, "What'd you learn today in the yeshiva? What'd they teach today?" You say, "Well, the Rav, you're the fountain that feeds us. We have nothing to offer you." Meaning, that quenches our thirst. We have nothing to offer you. Meaning, how could us, the little cups, give you anything? What can we teach you? You're the rabbi. You're teaching us. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to give you something. It's like today. Somebody learned, I don't know, they heard some shiur. Like, hey, did you know that it says in this Gemara, this, that? Yeah, maybe you knew, maybe you didn't know, but are you coming to teach? You're coming to learn. The best is sometimes I have shurim. Some people are funny. I have this one guy, Israeli guy, God bless him. He does this. So he learns something, Baruch Hashem. He learns a little bit. But, sometimes people like to show that they know also. Again, they feel like it's a race for some reason. It's not a race. Well, we're here to learn Torah. What race? Who am I, Bechlad, that you can erase me? So I say, so he learned something. And but he asked me a question that he already knows an answer. You hear one of those questions? Like, I'll give you obviously a very example. Do you know who was the main character in Parashat Lech Lecha? Obviously it's Avraham, but it's just an example of a question. Do you know who the main character in Parashat Lech Lecha was? Now, he's not asking me because he wants to know. He's asking me to see if I know, number one, because he knows the answer already. So to show that he knows.
In front of everybody.
So you catch on to this, obviously. After a while, you catch on to this. And I used to have these same type of questions in the business world for my students in the business world. I teach these guys how to study for the, big test. The Series 7 is the first big test. It's 265 questions. And over 70% of the people fail. 70% of the people that take it fail. Now, Baruch Hashem, we know how to study, so I would teach all the guys that would work for me. I teach them how to pass this test. I teach them how to study. Study for a few months. And they used my system of how to study it, and they passed the test. But the funny thing is about these young kids, and not all of them necessarily, I call them all young kids, even though some of them were even older than me, because to me they were all kids. But it's funny, as soon as they were study it, sometimes it would be after they pass the test, sometimes it's before they even pass the test, and they come and they tell me, "Hey, Mr. Reuven, do you know the rule, SEC rule, ta-ta-ta-ta-ta?" And they would know the answer, but they want to see if I know the answer. I'm thinking to myself, I taught you how to study for this test. You want to teach me a rule? Is there something wrong with you? This is what my idea was. And back then, today I'm a little bit softer, Baruch Hashem, trying to work on my midot, so I don't lose it on anybody. But it's still funny to me. So the guy is asking, he goes, "Do you know so and so in this parasha or this rule?" And he knows the answer. So today I say, "No, tell me. No, tell me. I don't even tell him. Do you know? Tell me what it is. Yeah, you want to hear yourself talk? Go ahead. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do?" So,
and he told you?
Yeah, no, she would tell me what it is. I was like, "Oh, Chazak Baruch, good job." And it's every week. Every week we have something.
Where's that shiur?
Different shurim. No, not every week. Whatever. Once in a while, I have this guy, and every week it's something like that.
One day he'll give you a chidush that's gonna blow you.
He'll want to give me a chidush. I'm like, tell me. Go ahead.
Maybe one day he really may give you a chidush.
B'ezrat Hashem will give me a chidush. B'ezrat Hashem, lama lo. Whatever. Listen, sometimes it's some people need to get something off of their chest. Why not? It's good for them also to build some confidence. You want a guy to have a confidence to learn, to see, listen, his learning is also very valuable. And this actually, I learned this midah. I learned to do this actually from my Rav Ephraim, where every time I would say, remember when you taught me, he goes, wait, stop, no, I didn't teach you anything. We learned together. You would always correct me. To this day, every time I say, remember when you taught me A, B, C? He goes, no, I never taught you anything. It's when we learn together. I'm like, what we learned together? You were teaching, I was listening, I didn't teach you anything. He goes, no, it's not true. He goes, I was there. We were learning together. And that's what it is. Baruch Hashem, that's how Chavruta works. You learn together, Baruch Hashem. So now, but this is also the mindset of a Torah scholar. The mindset of a Talmid Chacham is there's no such thing as a gava and all of that stuff. You have to make sure that you...
What happened to the two students who were with the rabbi?
Oh, what do you mean? When they...
told him you were the fountain.
Yeah, you're the fountain, so give us a chidush. And he says, yes, you're right. But I'm sure there's still something valuable that you learned in the yeshiva, so tell me. And they told him one thing, and he expounded on the chidush that they gave him. They told him what they learned, and he gave them even a chidush on the chidush that they learned. So, if you want to have success in Torah, make sure that you make your house into a place where Torah scholars feel at home, feel comfortable. Make your place a place where you have shiurei Torah on a regular basis. You have your friends over instead of having your friends over for baseball and football games or just a place to sleep. Arrange a few guys to come over, learn Torah. It doesn't necessarily need to be huge. Just anything to get on a regular basis to bring some blessing into your house. Another idea, I said this at least in my Hebrew lecture. I said it once before. I'm not sure if I said it in English, but it's worth saying. It's a phenomenal idea for any restaurant, kosher restaurant, to do on a regular basis. Obviously, have shiurei Torah at a restaurant is already a great idea. A lot of people know about that idea. The idea to have a kosher restaurant, to have shiurei Torah, not only brings parnasah to the place, but also brings brings bracha, brings blessing to the place. But I think something, to have a shiur Torah every day at a restaurant is not easy for everyone. But something that you can do every single day, all day, to bring blessing to your place is to give people an incentive to do Birkat Hamazon. You see a lot of these, especially like the sort of like fast food places, like shawarma places. You see many of them have many of them have the cards of Birkat Hamazon. In somewhere in usually it's next to the garbage pail. Not exactly the best idea, but on the counter sometimes at different places they have the cards for it. And whoever wants to do Birkat Hamazon after they eat the shawarma or whatever they ate, some bread that they ate, they take the thing and they read it. But in reality, if you actually pay attention to the restaurant, let's say you have 25 people, maybe 1-2 of them are actually reading the card. The rest of them are eating a sandwich and leaving, not eating Birkat Hamazon. Now, Birkat Hamazon, we learned from Gemara Masechet Brachot, is the number one blessing in all of Judaism. It's more important than Shema Yisrael. It's more important than Amidah. It's more important than any blessing we have. Why? Because the only bracha in the Torah that's literally stated what you have to say, that you have to do it. So it's the number one most important blessing in all of Judaism. So think about this. You can get people to say this blessing in your place over and over again. The number one blessing in all of Judaism in your place from morning to night. You turn your place into a kollel already. People pay thousands of dollars for people to just get a blessing or put something at the kotel or get some card that says some zgula or something. You get people to say blessing in your place for what? So I think you should give them an incentive to do it. Now, if you tell people, listen, it's good for you to do Birkat Hamazon, they have Yetzirah. I said, no, thank you. Not for me. But you tell them, listen, you do Birkat Hamazon, I take off, $2 off your bill. I take $2 off the bill. Okay, it's $15, now it's $13. Or whatever, $1, whatever it is. You want to take off $1, $2, something that people are going to do it for it. And get people to do Birkat Hamazon, I think the place gets the bracha non-stop.
Dessert or something.
Whatever, give free dessert. But the point I'm trying to say is that this is a great idea that every kosher restaurant should implement, because again, number one, you're going to get the blessing. Number two, you're going to help people do mitzvah. You're going to be a Masakeh Rabim. Who's better than you?
Or free fountain.
You're doing KIRUV. Huh?
Or free
Free
fountain
refill.
drink.
Yeah, but he's already finished. If the guy's already finished...
Give him a
No,
nice
say with the
chocolate chip
sandwich
cookie.
when they went.
No, but he's already finished. If he's doing Birkat Hamazon, he's already finished.
Oh, okay.
If he's doing Birkat Hamazon, he's already
Give him a nice
finished.
chocolate chip
Talking about
cookie.
before.
But he's already finished. Why are you giving him more food? He finished food.
Everyone wants a cookie after they eat.
Okay, maybe. So, anyway, so see, I gave you the idea. I'm the student. I gave you the chidush. You guys are expounding on it. So, Baruch Hashem. So now, it says, let your house be a meeting place for Torah scholars, and you shall become dusty in the dust of their feet. So, another pirush of you should be dusty is one should make himself a student of Torah scholars, literally sitting at their feet in the dust. Where in the Mishnaic times, a couple thousand years ago, it was customary for all the students to sit around the teacher's feet. He would sit on a chair, and everyone would sit on the floor around him, around his feet.
People used to do in Pesach back in the day. They used to all sit on the floor.
Okay, exactly. So that's one. But another pirush is actually that you shall become dusty in the dust of their feet, meaning you should do anything for these tzaddikim, for these talmidim chachamim, anything you need to do for them. Give them a drink, go to the store for them, go buy them something, do them a favor, do this, do that. Whatever you can do to help them with their life so they could focus on Torah. So they could focus on what they are. They're talmidim chachamim, they're scholars. Do whatever you can to make sure they stay that way. So anything of this world, oh, for the Rav, you need, pick up a book for you. Oh, for the Rav, you want to pick up your laundry. Oh, for the Rav, you want me to, take this, to that. All these little things.
Become a shamash.
Exactly, become a shamash. But the point is that you have a rabbi coming from out of town, already, for the Rav, don't make sure I'm picking you up at the airport. No, you don't need to. There's taxi. No, I'm picking you up at the airport. I'll be there. I'm taking you to the airport. No, listen, it's far. It's out of the way. I got to go to work. Whatever you can do for these Talmidim Chachamim, because that's the opportunity you have. That's the mitzvah you have. That's the how you can get close to them. Make sure your place, somebody comes out of town, they feel comfortable. They don't have to ask twice. You're the place that's hosting them. And so on and so forth. Don't just be one of these people that has a fancy house that's full of nothing. Make it full of Talmidim Chachamim. Make it full of Torah. And then the last part it says, and you shall drink in their words with thirst. The Rambam in Ilchot Deot 6:2 interprets this figuratively. It says, as a way to cleave to HaShem by being in close contact with his Torah scholars and their students, one should marry the daughter of a Torah scholar, marry his own daughter to one, eat and drink with scholars, provide business opportunities for them, and generally engage in all kinds of social interaction with them. So, first and foremost, he's telling you here that you have to make sure that this is actually more in regards to the still the dust in their feet. Is Rambam is telling you that you have to be so close to them that connect to them in any way you possibly can. Marry them, marry a daughter to them. Is actually one of the sages says, sell everything you have in order for your daughter to marry a scholar. Talmid Chacham.
But if she's a bat kohen, she must.
But in regards to the drink their words with thirst, the Vilna Gaon cites the verse in Isaiah 55, verse 1. All who are thirsty go to water, as the source for this particular teaching, meaning that anyone, he's using obviously as a reference. Water is another, what is it called? Another word for Torah. It's used as a word for Torah. So he says, all who are thirsty go to water. Anyone that's looking for the truth arrives at the Torah. In so many words, it's what the Vilna Gaon is saying here. But if you really want to get what Yossi ben Yoezer is telling you here, if you really want to get the wisdom of Torah, you want to get to not just listen to chidush here and there, a little shiur here and there. You want to really get the wisdom of Torah. Act like you're thirsty. Act like it's the greatest thing in the world. Don't ever think for a second that if there's a debate in your mind, do I watch the elections or do I go to shiur Torah? That you're thirsty. Don't ever think that you're doing somebody a favor by going to the shiur Torah. Don't ever think that if you're doing any learning, like somebody other than you is benefiting out of it. When you really want to learn Torah and to get to a point of being a Talmid Chacham, you have to act like someone that's been in a desert his whole life. Like the next chidush is going to change your life.
Be desperate for it.
You have to do whatever you can to just free time. Any minute you have, another 2 minutes free, okay, let me watch a clip. Another one of these clips. You have extra 5 minutes, all right, let me open a book. All right, let me do this. Constantly looking for time to get the next chidush. Get the next Torah wisdom that's going to add to your life, Constantly chase it, constantly look for it. Don't look for videos of cops saving ducks in the middle of the road. Look back chidush on Torah. Baruch HaShem, you have a lot of things. That's what people do today. They look at these videos. I don't know. I see people. These videos have 1.5 billion hits. You know, we have. I don't know. We're happy when we see 500, 1,000 hits on a video, a couple thousand hits. I have one clip. This one clip we have. Maybe like 5,000, 6,000 hits on it, and I get excited. Oh wow, 5,000 people watched this clip. It's great. And but then you see one of these idiots made a clip of a cop saving ducks in the middle of the road, gets, I don't know, 1 billion hits, and I'm like, Shem Menachem, if 1 billion people watch Torah, imagine that.
They're doing KIRUV with the video. Everyone is sharing it on their page.
Okay.
No one sharing the KIRUV video.
Right, exactly. So that's the thing. So you get excited, get a video. See 10,000 people watch this video, 10,000 people watch that video. You get excited, but then you see 2 babies laughing, get 300 million hits. I'm like, man, how can I be?
Not everyone has the merit to see.
Okay, see, not everyone's thirsty is my point. Not everyone's thirsty. Not everyone's thirsty. You want to get chidushim, you have to act thirsty. So. You'll see the next Mishnah. Hey, this was actually Dalit, all the way to now. Now we're going to Hey, the 5th one. Yossi ben Yochanan, איש ירושלים אומר, יהי ביתך פתוח לרווחה, ויהיו עניים בני ביתך, ואל תרבה שיחה עם האישה. באשתו אמרו, קל וחומר באשת חברו. מכאן אמרו חכמים, כל המרבה שיחה עם האישה, גורם רעה לעצמו ובוטל מדברי תורה, וסופו יורש gehinom. Yossi ben Yochanan, leader of Jerusalem, says, let your house be open wide. Sounds similar to the first Mishnah we just read. Treat the poor as members of your household. So here we see it's an upgrade, not just Talmidim Chachamim, even the poor. And do not converse excessively with the woman. They said this even about one's own wife. Surely it applies to another's wife. Consequently, the sages said, anyone who converses excessively with a woman causes evil to himself, neglects Torah study, and eventually inherits gehinom. So the first thing I'd like to mention here is, obviously you see that gehinom is not a topic I created. The sages say it. And they say it in many, many places in the Torah. It's not some mystical teaching of a place that may or may not be. It's outright in the Torah, it's in the Gemara, it's in everywhere. It's everywhere. So anyone that tells you gehinom doesn't exist in Judaism, or it's a washing machine for 12 months, it's complete hocus pocus nonsense. Gehinom is very much real. It's Hashem Elachem, horrible. And as I told you guys many times, we're not going to do the shiur about gehinom anytime soon, because I don't think that people are ready for it. At least the vast majority of people out there, and anyone that's ready for it pretty much already knows about it. But anyone that's really, really insistent on learning about gehinom, you have one of two options. One, learn some Gemara, you learn about gehinom. Well, one of three options. Learn some Gemara, you learn about gehinom. It says some things about it in different places. You learn some Gemara. That's one. Two, learn from the book Reshit Chochmah. Reshit Chochmah, unfortunately, it's only written in Hebrew. So for Hebrew speakers, there's Reshit Chochmah, talks about gehinom, gives you a lot of details, and that will help you understand about gehinom. Or three, and this is probably the biggest wake-up call for anyone who really wants to learn about it, and this is very real. I'm not joking about it, and I think I told you this before. Anyone that really wants to know what happens in gehinom, watch videos of abortions. Watch it. It doesn't need it to be plural. It doesn't need to be videos. One video of what actually happens to an abortion. What happens? And you see how Shem Elachem, they cut the body of the baby, and it's outright murder. Abortions are not allowed in Judaism under any condition, unless it's a life risk, unless the mom is at risk to die or something. And this is the best. What happens over there is the best case scenario in gehinom. That's the best case scenario in gehinom. So it's much worse in gehinom. So for any of the fans that I have that keep writing me every other week about, come on, when you're going to do the shiur in gehinom, this really is necessary to let them know, because again, most people can't handle watching that. I know when I first watched it, I have nightmares about it. Even after learning about gehinom, because when you see something versus you read about it, it's different. So, but that's the best case scenario. It's actually one of the tzaddikim in previous generation. I forget his name. One day, all the students arrive at the kollel. Usually, the rabbi has a book in front of him. He's going to teach him halacha, mishnah, gemara, something. But today they see the rabbi cutting a steak. So they're waiting. They kavod for the Rav. They have respect for the Rav. They're not going to say anything to the Rav. What, you forgot to bring your lunch? You forgot to prepare your lunch? You're preparing in the middle of class? They're not going to say nothing. They sit over there quietly. They have an hour with the Rav. Okay, he's cutting a steak. What am I going to do? He finished cutting small pieces, another small piece, cubes, this. And he finishes eventually with the steak. I'm like, okay, so 15 minutes he's cutting this steak. Now we're going to learn. Bring another steak. And he cuts it. Another cube. Small pieces. And cuts it. And cuts it again. 15 minutes to cut a steak. Do you ever see somebody cutting a steak for 15 minutes? Small pieces. I'm like, half of our class is already gone. Second steak's finished. What does he do with the third one? Third steak. And this is how he spends the whole hour shiur, not saying one word. And the students, chas v'shalom, they're not going to say anything. They have respect for the rabbi. They're not going to interrupt him. He's cutting the steak. Cut a steak. What am I going to do? Maybe he needs to make lunch for his kids. Who knows? Maybe he works on a restaurant on the side. What do they know? They're just students. They're just, okay.
Yeah, well, he wants to share with the class.
Maybe he wants to share with the class. Maybe, yeah, who knows? At the end of class, 1 hour has passed. Everybody gets up. He says, this, my friends, is the best case scenario for you if you don't do teshuvah and you end up in gehinom. This is what they're going to do to you. Like what I did to this steak.
What's the worst case scenario?
Shem Elachem. That's the best case
scenario yet.
But worst case scenario, what happens to Titus, what happens to JC.
What's the difference between getting burnt and cut up? It's both evil.
I guess it's different than Shemaim. I don't know. Either way, it's not good. So for anyone, huh?
One is never ending. One type.
Okay. So here, first of all, we see why did I mention all of this, to see that obviously gehinom is very much a real place. Teshuvah is not an elective. You must do it. Find a way to do it. Find a way to beat your Yetzer Hara. It's not a matter of, listen, we like scaring people. I'm not Freddy Krueger, the character from a movie. You know, this is trying to tell you what the Torah says to get you to wake up so you can do teshuvah, so you stop doing sins and you live a good life. This is for your own benefit. And somebody told me today, he goes, listen, you teach, this part of the Torah, and other rabbis teach a different part of the Torah. They teach the nice and this. I'm like, no. It's completely not true. We're learning Chavruta. And he's like, he's a big fan. And I'm like, no. Actually, I had a chidush. I'm like, no. If a rabbi is teaching you all the nice things in the Torah, Parashat Shavua, he's telling you Avraham Avinu was a tzaddik, he was in a cave, and Moshe Rabbeinu, big tzaddik, he went to the mountains and he saw the fire and this and that, and Am Yisrael left Egypt, and there were slaves, but then there were all prophets, and David HaMelech was a tzaddik, and everyone's a tzaddik, and you're a tzaddik, and he's a tzaddik, and she's a tzaddik, and everybody's a tzaddik. Oh, everybody's great. Everybody's a tzaddik. Everybody's great. Give me tzedakah. Be a tzaddik.
Want a new kitchen.
Tzedakah, and tzaddik, and that's it. A lot of tzaddik. So, they tell you everything is nice, and we'll teach you about shlom bayit, and we'll teach you about, not to be angry, and we'll teach you about all types of basic level things that really you can get a lot of it in self-help books, by the way. You don't need the Torah for it. You get it from common secular knowledge. It's not divine wisdom. Listen, stop yelling at your wife, you'll have shlom bayit. It's not exactly divine wisdom. You don't need the Torah for that. You know that some idiot figured it out. Because if I yell at my wife, she's not going to like me. If I don't yell at my wife, there's peace. Okay, great. You want real peace in your house, you want love in your house, you have to learn divine wisdom, what real shlom bayit is from the Torah. But again, that's still not going to make you a human being everywhere. Okay, maybe you have shlom bayit in your house, but you're a thief outside. So people that just teach the nice parts about the Torah, the nice stories, the Sipuret Tzadikim and all that stuff, it looks like they're teaching a different part of the Torah from what we're teaching. Completely not true. What's the difference like? The difference is they choose the nice parts of the Torah. The nice stories. There's plenty of nice stories. We say everything, which is nice and not so nice. So there's a difference. What's the difference? Not that I teach a different part of the Torah, or Rav Mizrahi teaches a different part of the Torah, and they teach a different part of the Torah. Where I teach the scary part, and they teach the nice part. No! It's, as you can see, there's some nice stories that we say. There's nice things that we say. There's things that are based on emunah. There's things that are based on rational. There's things that are based on science. And then there's some things that are scary, like chopping you up into little sticks. But what's the difference here? One is teaching the whole Torah, and the other one is teaching parts. So you tell me, which one do you think is going to help you more in life? Learning the whole picture or learning a little small piece of the picture? If you learn the whole picture, then you know exactly what you're dealing with. You learn part of the picture, you don't know the whole, you don't know what's going on. If you only know the income coming into the company, you know part of the picture. But if you know the income plus the expenses, you know what kind of company you have. So if you do it in business, you need to do it in life also, in your eternity also. So people need to know that gehinom definitely does exist. Doesn't necessarily mean they need to know everything that goes on in there, because it's not necessarily going to help everybody at the current state that they're in. But nonetheless, they definitely need to know that it does exist, because the fear of heaven is going to help you not sin. Much more than the thought that you love God or something like that. You could eventually get to a point of loving HaShem, BeEzrat HaShem, but first you need to start by fearing Him. Once you fear Him, and you won't sin, or you'll lower the amount of sins that you have, and you can build on that. So moving on to finalize this Mishnah, the second Mishnah, Mishnah Hey, the fifth Mishnah. So what's the difference here in between the two? First, he's telling you, Yossi ben Yochanan, the leader of Jerusalem, upgrades from Yossi ben Yoezel. He says, let your house be open wide, meaning, be like Avraham Avinu. Don't just make your place a meeting place where it's once in a while. Make your house open wide, meaning open all the time. Go all the way. Where just like Avraham Avinu had 4 entrances. He had a tent with entrances in all 4 corners. Why? So anyone coming from anywhere will know it's open. It's available. You come. It's easy access for you. You don't have to think, listen, I have to go around to see if it's still open. I have to
Feel at home.
feel at home. Make your place open to everybody. Don't build one of these houses that's, it's a magnificent big house, but no one's allowed to step on the carpet.
So you don't want Ainara in the house, no?
Huh?
Let's say you have a fancy house, you don't want Ainara.
No, you can build a fancy house, but as long as you make it open to everyone, enjoy.
Comfortable.
Just like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. There's a story about one of the students of Rav Wasserman. He's very, very rich. And this is a generation before the Holocaust. And one day, Rav Wasserman was one of the Gedolei Ador, came to collect some tzedakah for his yeshivot. And he go to this one guy that was very, very wealthy. Big house. And, in those days they didn't have roads like they have today. So Rav Wasserman, all of his, shoes were dirty with the mud and all the filth of the streets. It was raining and so on, so he didn't want to go in the front entrance. So he went around. He knew that there's an entrance in the back of the house. He knocked on the door, and the daughters of this rich guy were sitting in the kitchen. They opened the back door. He says, "Is your Abba home?" And they go call their Abba. He comes in, he goes, "Kvod Harav, what are you doing? Why are you coming from the back of the house?" He goes, "No, see, look, my feet are full of mud and dirt and filth from the streets. I didn't want to walk on your carpets and ruin all your stuff,
Persian rugs.
all your fancy rugs." He goes, "Kvod Harav, why are you ruining my kids? Why are you ruining?" He's like, "Me ruining your kids?" He goes, "Kvod Harav, I learned from you this Mishnah. Let your house be open wide." Meaning, for the Torah scholar, it's first class service. These rugs are worth nothing. What's more important? You're Talmid Chacham. You're one of Gedolei Israel. You're the Torah. What's more important? You or this $20,000 rug?
Came from the wrong entrance.
This is what I've been teaching. This is what I've been teaching my kids my whole life. You coming from the back, what are my kids going to think? You're going to think, oh yeah, this guy knows a lot of Torah, but he's not more important than our $20,000 rug. So he's like, "Kvod Harav, please, do me a favor. Go back to the front entrance and walk and jump as much as you want with all the mud in the world on all the carpets." And that's what he did. Go in the front, with the mud, with everything, and the Baal HaBayit was with him. Mud, no problem. Why? Because the Torah is much more important than anything you're going to have. Here's what somebody needs to understand is that, again, yes, you're allowed to have nice things. You're allowed to have a fancy house. No one's telling you have to live in some corner or some hut, begging for change. No one says that. But if you buy very expensive things, very expensive house, very expensive carpet, very expensive chandelier, very expensive furniture, all those things are very, very nice. But no one's allowed to touch it. No one's allowed to enjoy it. And it becomes more valuable in your eyes or anyone else's eyes than someone that's a Talmid Chacham. You have yourself a serious problem. Your priorities are completely off.
Sounds like a museum.
So the next thing he says is treat the poor as members of your household. So he's upgrading. He's saying, listen, you want to get to the level of Avraham Avinu, where you already open your house in 4 corners to make everybody feel comfortable. Don't just host the Talmidim Chachamim, host the poor. Because why? Because many of these poor people are actually Talmidim Chachamim.
The Torah comes from the poor people.
Right? Many of these poor people are Talmidim Chachamim, but you're not going to know Talmidim Chachamim. Now all of them are walking around with the glima, like the Gdol Adol. And you know, wow, this is a Gdol Adol. He knows, he's famous, he's this. Not everybody's like that. Even Ha'ezer, one of the giants of history. These stories are known how poor these people were. Poor people. People wrote articles. I believe it was the Ben Ish Chai. They wrote articles about his house. They couldn't believe that the Gdol Ador lives in a house like this. You go, there's actually YouTube videos about Rav Steinman. Gdol Ador, he's 103 years old, Baruch Hashem. His house, millions of dollars, crosses fingers every day. People wanting to donate this, that, the other thing. The guy's house, a homeless guy today lives in a better house.
They're falling apart.
The house is falling apart, this, that, it's nothing. He sleeps on crates. Milk crates. He puts a mattress on it. He studies his Torah. Not because he doesn't have no money, no this. He can have whatever he wants. He's completely disconnected from the material world. Steinman.
Nachumish Gamzu was the same, right?
Nachumish Gamzu is from 2,500 years ago. No, Rav Steinman is from now.
Yeah, no, I'm saying also Nachumish Gamzu lived in a house like this.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Second he left the house, it collapsed.
Maybe you're right. 103, something like that.
Rabbi Akiva's rabbi, no, it was Nachumish Gamzu, the one.
He's one of the rabbis of Rabbi Akiva, yeah.
So his house, they said, was such a mess that he knew that when his students asked him to help him move out, he says, I'll go out first, because the second I leave, the house is going to collapse. HaShem was
I heard that story, I just didn't know the name. Yeah, I know the story, I don't remember the name, Nachumish Gamzu, associated with the story. I thought it was somebody else.
Yeah.
But it's so when somebody's connected to this world, he's going to care about the chandelier and the table and the chairs and this and that. No, if you buy something, if you getting expensive stuff is going to make you like that, don't get it. Have a simple house. Better not have it. But if you can share it and make sure that your house is open and this, then Hashem is going to give it to you. Right. So, okay, very rich, very rich. But then right after he says, treat the poor members as the poor as members of your household. Immediately after that, he says, do not converse excessively with the woman. What does one thing have to do with the other? Okay, so one hand is saying, open your house, treat the poor as members of your household. Next thing you know is, don't talk to a woman too much. What does one thing have to do with the other? Everything has to be connected. If you're going to have your house really open, you're going to let everybody in, you know the Yetzer Hara is coming in also. The Yetzer Hara is going to send different things. Average guy, going to have people come in. What the Yetzer Hara is going to send them? He's also going to send them women too. Women also poor once in a while. Right? So he's going to send her in. He says, listen, let her in, but don't talk to her too much. Make sure it's just to help the poor. She's poor, help her whatever way you can, but don't talk to her. Don't make a relationship out of this.
Don't look at her too much.
Don't make a relation. Don't talk too much, because even her voice, according to the Gemara, Kol ha'isha erva, even the voice of a woman could be considered nakedness. A man can be turned on even by a woman's voice. Even by a woman's voice. Rav Tzion Abba Shaul had a student who told him, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who told him, Kvod Rav, I need to get glasses, but the only place next to me, next to where I live, has the place for glasses, but the doctor is a woman. But she doesn't touch. No touching or anything. She's not going to touch me. Just show me the glasses. He goes, be careful of the voice. He goes, no, she doesn't touch me, nothing. It's okay, just be careful of the voice. And the student didn't get it. The student later on told this story. So he got the glasses, went to get the test, and he noticed that every time she would say something, he felt something. And he came to the Rav, and he's like, Rav, Baruch Hashem, no touching or anything like that. She's a doctor, a regular doctor, not a regular woman. But every time she said something, I felt something. He goes, no, Not to go there anymore. What's the mean? He goes, even to some guys, to some men, their their Yetzirah is big on stuff like that, where even the voice of a woman can turn them on. This is why, according to many, not allowed to listen to a woman sing. A Jew is not allowed to listen to a woman sing if he knows what she looks like. If she knows what she looks like. So, it's very, in general, it's better if you're going to listen to music, it's better to listen to men sing, or even to just music without words at all. I know on a personal level, that's one of the things that I did as part of my teshuvah, where I pretty much eliminated all music that has words, unless it's like Tehillim or something like that. You know, and you'd be surprised how it affects. Trance is like it's not exactly.
It has no words.
Yeah, it has no words, but it makes you think of unholy places. Last time that somebody listened to trance wasn't exactly when they were getting a chidush in a Torah. It was usually getting a chidush from a mindset, from ecstasy or something. So yeah, it's not exactly it's not a place, not a music to listen to.
Music with filthy words.
No, so like I said, it's better to listen to music without words, or to listen to music with words that are holy, like Tehillim or Tikkun HaKlali or opera. Yeah, it's fine.
That music doesn't pump you up.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, it's. I'm telling you what I did. You do what you want. I'm telling you what I did. I'm giving you what I did. That helped me. I needed to do a lot of teshuvah. Maybe you don't need to do as much teshuvah as I did. What I can tell you. So he says, listen, invite people to your house, be a tzaddik, but don't talk too much to a woman. And this is obviously even referring to your own wife. So of course it applies to another's wife. Meaning, he's saying don't speak to a woman too much. Is not only to some strange poor woman that came to you for help. He's saying don't even speak to your own wife too much, and definitely don't speak too much to somebody else's wife. Meaning, to just talk common talk about nothing to your own wife, if it's necessary, like, hey honey, how was your day? How are the kids doing today? You know, you're trying to, especially if it's like a new marriage, you know, you try to give her some strength. You know, she needs some direction in life. She needs some help with emunah. She needs some emotional support. She needs some attention. You must do it. That's what it says. You know, don't converse excessively. Meaning, it doesn't say don't talk. Don't be one of these people that's a mute. All of a sudden you're a tzaddik, you don't want to talk to the women at all. Don't be one of these crazy people. Not teaching crazy people here. This Torah is for humans, not for animals or crazy people. So it doesn't say don't talk to them. It says don't talk to them excessively. So first and foremost, we need to understand that it's referring to things that are batil, that are nonsense, like, you know, things that are not Torah related. If you're talking Torah, talk as much as you want. That's number one. Number two, with your wife, it's necessary to have some of those conversations, because not everything is related to Torah. You have to manage a house, you have to manage your bills, you have to give her emotional support, you have to be a husband, you have to be a friend, you have to be everything for her. So, but make sure it's not to a point where it's like, okay, you're only talking to her and you're not learning Torah anymore. Make sure it's under control. But when it's referring to another's wife, even more so. Even more so, less conversation, less talk at all. As a matter of fact, try not to talk to them at all. Why? Because if you could have your wife speak to them, have your wife speak to them. If you can minimize the words, say the same thing in 2 words instead of 4 words, say it in 2 words. Don't develop some friendship with someone that's not your wife. Don't develop that with a girl that's not your wife, or a woman that's not your wife. It's not healthy. Why? He says, anyone who converses excessively with a woman causes evil to himself, neglects Torah study, and will eventually inherit gehinom. So here he says 3 different things that it causes. So first and foremost, it causes evil to himself. What does it mean, causes evil to himself? As Shlomo HaMelech says, Ra ze gehinom. Evil is gehinom. What's meaning? Here he's referring to that's desires, sexual desires. Whether it's your wife or it's another woman, even more so when it's not your wife, it's natural for a man. That's how a man was built. It's not that he's bad and she's good, or he's good and she's bad. It has nothing to do with that. A man was built that way, where if he connects to a woman, he hears her voice, he has even one thing in common with her, already starts thinking. A woman, on the other hand, if she finds emotional support from a man, if she finds him somewhat funny or amusing, if she sees some emotional connection of any kind, even a friendship type of connection, that's it. And human beings were created in a way where one of the main ways we can express this connection, this so-called love, is by lust, by being physically connected. So when you are going to spend too much time talking to a woman, it's natural for both of you to get sexual desires. And HaShem Erachem. You're married, she's married, you have a serious problem. You're married, she's not married. She's married, you're not married. Either way, neither one of you is married and you can't wait till the wedding. You have yourself a serious problem. You have yourself a serious problem. So you have to make sure that you minimize your conversation on that end, because it leads to sexual desires. Second thing is that even if it's relating to your wife, if you become your wife's BFF, it's very, very healthy for a relationship. But if all of your conversations are purely about her girlfriends and your friends and your job and her job and what the kids did in kindergarten and how cute is it that our kid said the first word, and how cute is it that the neighbor's kid didn't say the first word yet and ours did, and this and all this nonsense conversations only, and there's no Torah, there's no spirituality, what happens? Your conversations end up creating bitul Torah. It ends up creating neglect of Torah. And as we'll learn from chapter, I believe, 4 of the Mishnah in Avot, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says that when someone is a mevatel Torah, when someone is a neglects Torah study, meaning not neglects Torah study, he doesn't study at all. Someone is studying, but then stops. For what? For something idle. To answer a phone call. Somebody, he's studying Torah, and somebody calls him. Somebody calls him on the phone. He's like, let me check who's on the phone. I'm studying Torah, but I'm checking who's on the phone. What's the big deal? Or like he's studying Torah, he sees something on, he overhears something on TV. He's like, Trump's winning. Oh, Hillary's winning. Oh, Hashem Erachem. Oh, what? Stops. It's Torah. He says there's a mekatreg. There's an angel in Shamayim that comes to the Bet Din of Shamayim at that moment and asks for a death penalty.
Better not to study at all.
Lama better not study at all.
If you can't focus 100%.
Why can't you focus 100%?
Because sometimes I want to learn and take a break.
Okay, so there's a pitawan for that also. To say not studying at all, it's like saying, listen, I can't do all the mitzvot, might as well not do anything, live like a goy. That's retarded. This is only someone.
I vape also when I study.
Vape as much as you want. We're not talking about vape. Vape doesn't take away your attention. Vape is, you're smoking. Okay, it's not exactly healthy how much you're smoking, which is a different lesson for you. But the key is that it's focusing on Torah and not the television. So the Gdolei Israel have said, I think it was may have been off Kanievsky, maybe actually Mav Shteyman, said that it's good for someone to say that when they sit and study, to already say in their mind that I'm going to study until I stop. Like I'm not going to say, listen, I'm going to study for an hour and then chas v'shalom, something distracts me and I stop in the middle, because then you have a serious problem in Shamayim. So already say mentally, I'm going to study, or even loud, say it out loud. I'm going to study until I stop. So that way, you're at least not putting yourself in a bad situation. So that, but not studying at all. It's Come on,
I heard
all these shurim you're coming. This is what you tell me.
No, I heard this because I heard that.
Everyone gonna say it's almost tzaddik. Says all the chidushim. He just said he's gonna give up the whole Torah because he can't focus.
Penalty for Paul.
So better study. That's the point. You're supposed to get some serious mussar from it.
What about the thing where I heard that it says even when you swallow your saliva, they're gonna punish you for that while you're learning?
Swallow. It's not. I haven't heard that.
You didn't hear that?
I haven't heard that one.
I found the oldest source.
That's good one. That's good one.
You swallowed your saliva, and it's one of the places in hell that you get punished for. That type of bitul Torah.
It's different levels. Different level. Baruch Hashem. So no, I haven't had that one yet. Bezrat Hashem, I'll read it. Yeah, Bezrat Hashem.
Look for it.
So now he says to you, he says, okay, so speaking too much to a woman causes evil to himself, causes sexual desires. Then it causes somebody to neglect Torah, and eventually will inherit gehinom. So now, obviously, gehinom we already talked about, and this shows everybody that doesn't believe in gehinom that it's very much real. But you have to understand this whole issue about speaking to a woman that's not your wife is something that is critical to the Torah, that it's not something that's chauvinistic, or it's not something that's against women, chas v'shalom. It's just part of reality. In the Gemara, Masechet Iruvin, page 53b, there's an amazing story of one of the most righteous women that ever lived, as far as Torah scholar is concerned. Her name was Bruriah. And if you remember last week, I told you the story about Bruriah. Bruriah did not agree with this Mishnah. She did not agree with the fact that a woman is easier to entice. She did not agree with it. And unfortunately, she fell.
She took matters into her own hands.
She fell at her own test. But Bruriah was a big tzadikah, big talmidah chachama. She knew an enormous amount of Torah. And one day in the Gemara it says she saw on the road Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Rabbi Yossi Aglili. And Rabbi Yossi Aglili asked her which way to go to Lod, this place called Lod. And she says, Glili Ashoteh. Glili the crazy. One of the giant sages of history. She's calling him the crazy person. Don't you know the halacha of not speaking too much to a woman? Speaking excessively to a woman? You could have said, where is Lod? Meaning 2 words instead of you used 4 words. You used 4 words, you could have used 2 words. And she was very angry at him. So she knew that the voice of a woman is enticing. She knew that you're not allowed to speak excessively to a woman. Some Mefarshim even say that he said, which way can we get to Lod? Made it sound as if he was connecting her and him in a strange way. Needless to say, she obviously was brilliant. And she knew even that this particular Mishnah is very much right. Listen, you cannot talk to someone that's not your wife excessively. And even if it is your wife, you have to monitor your conversation. Because if you don't, you're going to, at the very least, you're not going to study as much Torah as you need to. At worst, Shem Erachem, you're going to make sins. So this is something that's very, very important for people to understand. I heard the story actually. And I'll finish with this. There was one big Rav, I forget his name. I forget the name. It's a story that happened 8 years ago. Machon. Quote me the name. I'll try to remember it if I can. BeEzrat Hashem. Told my Rav Ephraim, there's this certain yeshiva or kollel in Israel. Unfortunately, a lot of the young guys, even though they're all learning Torah, learning Talmud, learning this, learning that, before their, once they met their shidduch, they couldn't wait for the wedding, and they started touching. Some worse than others. Some kissing, hand-holding, things like that, which are also not allowed. And some went shemenachem, much further. And this Rav said 8 years ago that every single one from that particular yeshiva, since they all knew you're not allowed, every single one of them that touched before wedding, every one of them had at least one child born with Down syndrome. Some worse than others. Some, Down syndrome is not always like the highest level. There's different levels of it. So, my Rav Fine says, a couple years later, or a year later, one of the couples that he knew, the student went to that yeshiva, which he knew he wasn't exactly the biggest tzaddik in the world. This is Yitzhak beat him on that one. He said they had a kid born, and the kid was fine. Nothing. It's like, listen, this Rav was a big mekubah. It wasn't like some, a little basic rabbi. It's a big mekubah said this. It wasn't like a big rabbi. And he says, listen, kid was born, nothing wrong. Baruch HaShem. It's good. It's not a bad thing, but what the rabbis say, usually divrei tzadikim, it's come true. So, okay, so it didn't come true with this couple. Maybe 5 years passed, just a couple of years ago. He says they discovered in their girl, the same girl that was born, she was now 5 years old, that she does have Down syndrome. Shem does have. It's not the same, not the highest level of Hashem. It's not always from the looks. It's also different levels of it, behavior and so on. But she did have it. So now, what's the difference? It's not necessarily to explain, to tell people, listen, you're gonna do this, you're gonna get this. No, there's people that knew, first of all, knew the chumrah of things. But the point I'm trying to make here, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this story because people don't like to hear stuff like this, but it's very much real stuff. It's real stuff. This stuff happens. It's not like the rabbi didn't make it happen. This is what happened in Shamayim. He just said this is what happened. This is what's going to continue happening. And people need to understand that HaShem is very serious about the Torah. Hashem hates zima, meaning He hates immodesty. He hates promiscuity. He wants you to be holy because He is holy, as He says in the Torah. So in order to be holy, we have to not only learn His Torah and learn the halachot, but we have to learn the whole purpose of the halachot is to make us solid people. Solid, good quality people, tzaddikim. So we don't end up and where this gehinom is, they keep mentioning in His Torah. And actually what we're going to try to do, we're going to BeEzrat HaShem over, I don't know how long it's going to take us, but we're going to try to go over the entire Pirkei Avot, the entire Mishnah, which is, BeEzrat HaShem, going to take us a while. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to actually count with you guys how many times it mentions gehinom in Pirkei Avot. So today is the first time. Today is gehinom number 1. So we'll see throughout the Mishnah how many times it mentions gehinom. So whoever says, listen, where did it say gehinom in the Torah? You say, listen, just in Pirkei Avot, it says, we're going to find out soon. We'll say multiple times. So tomorrow we're going to have a shiur in Aventura. In the Lighthouse Project at 8:30. And we're going to continue with Mishnah number 6, Vav, which is Yeshua ben Parchia. וניתאי הערבלי קיבלו מהם ישוע בן פרחיה אומר עשה לך רב וקנה לך חבר והווה דן את כל אדם לכף זכות. Yeshua ben Parchia and Nitai of Arbel received the tradition from them, meaning from the previous ones that we just mentioned, previous ages we just mentioned. Yeshua ben Parchia says, make a teacher for yourself, acquire a friend for yourself, and judge everyone favorably. So this is a very, very interesting Mishnah because it's very relevant to us today when it says, make yourself a teacher and buy yourself a friend. Usually we would expect a difference. We would expect buy yourself a rabbi in today's age and make yourself a friend. So the Mishnah is saying the opposite of what we naturally think. So tomorrow, BeEzrat HaShem, we're going to learn about that. What does it mean to make yourself a rabbi? Who should be a rabbi? Who is the fake? Who's real? How should, all the issues when it comes to a rabbi, because I think that's one of the roots of the problem of teshuvah these days, where people are just making anybody with some payas and a hat their rabbi, and it's, or some guy to just, throw off a few halachot by heart, and they make him their rabbi, and, it's not necessarily always a good fit. Or they make somebody their rabbi, but they don't want to listen to him. Oh yeah, he's my rabbi. Okay, so do you listen to what he says? Sometimes. So he's not your rabbi. He just knows Torah. You listen to him once in a while.
No.
You understand? So you have to decide. You have to decide. If he's your rabbi, you have to listen to everything he says. He's not your rabbi. Okay, so you have to find yourself a rabbi. So we're going to learn all the details of that. Why, who, when, fake rabbis, because there's also some recent stories, Baruch Hashem, of more signs that the Mashiach is coming soon, where the Satan is getting stronger and stronger. Has all these fakers are exposing themselves. We talked about earlier of how certain groups and cults are making it idol worship. They're making Judaism look like idol worship, or their version of Judaism is idol worship, where they're worshiping rabbis instead of worshiping HaShem. So we're going to talk about that as well. Canceling mitzvot, yeah. So, it's very, very important to know all the details of who could be your rabbi, who is your rabbi, and so on. And who is a rabbi b'chlal at all? Any questions?
Yeah, when they say that if you have to choose between Torah shebiktav, the Torah that you got from HaShem, or Torah shebe'al peh, you have to choose one of them over the other. So that means the Gemara and that is more important than a regular Sefer Torah, right?
Yes. The reason why is because the Gemara
is also considered. This is also considered oral Torah.
Ken, Pirkei Avot is the Mishnah. It's part of the Mishnah. Mishnah is where the Gemara came from. Mishnah came before the Gemara. So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi put together the Mishnah, and from there they actually made the Gemara. The Gemara explains the Mishnah, how they got to the Mishnah. So Pirkei Avot is one part of the Mishnah, and that's the oral Torah. And the reason why it says that we would choose Chas v'Shalom, if it ever got to a point we have to choose one of our Torahs, the oral Torah or the written Torah, and we'd have to choose the oral Torah over the written Torah, is number one, the oral Torah covers the entire written Torah. Meaning, when you learn Gemara, you end up covering the entire Tanakh through the oral Torah. They mentioned the halacha came from this one, from this verse. This story came from this one, through this story, or through this verse, through this verse. You end up covering the whole Tanakh through the Gemara anyway. It's not in order, but you end up covering it anyway. You end up knowing what happened in the Torah anyway. Number one. Number two, the written Torah without the oral Torah doesn't make any sense. Because part of the oral Torah is also nikud. It's also the vowel system. How to pronounce things, how to say things, which means if you don't know how to pronounce anything, then you don't know anything. That's number two. Number three, it's you're not going to know how to do anything. Okay, so now you're going to remember it. In this generation, you're going to remember it. Another generation, you're going to remember it. But a third generation, you're going to forget already half the stuff. By the fourth, fifth generation, you don't know anything. And you're not going to learn how to do any mitzvah from the written Torah. Okay, it says keep Shabbat. How do you keep Shabbat? What do you put it in a cage? You look at it and, what do you do? Put it in a box? What do you do? How do you keep Shabbat? How do you do Brit Milah? What's the Orla? They say cut the Orla. Okay, what's the Orla? Is it a piece of your ear? Is it a piece of your nose? Is it a fingernail? What's the Orla? Only the oral Torah has the information. You understand? So all of the mitzvot that are written in the Torah, Hashem says do all of them, but He doesn't give you any details of how to do it. The only place that you have of how to do it is the oral Torah. So the only way to fulfill the Torah is with the oral Torah. The written Torah is the source of everything, but how to implement the source, the on button, is the oral Torah. It's how to do everything. Next. Get some sleep. Baruch Adonai L'olam. Amen ve'amen. Chazakim u'buchim.